Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream, this time out of Gameweek 36. We are approaching the end game now of this season, and I haven't made any transfers thus far. I've only got one free move available to me, and I've also got 2.8 million in the bank. So over the next few hours, I'll be looking in my team, making some transfers, and trying to bolster this, not just for Gameweek 36, but also for Gameweeks 37 and 38, whilst answering all your questions in the process, discussing the best captaincy options, the latest team news, injury updates, and much more. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. We recently hit 33,000 in the Tuesday deadline stream for UCL Fantasy, so thank you very much for your support, and check out all the links in the description for my Patreon and the championships, for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. That includes priority reply to comments, and of course, we did actually reach over 100 members on YouTube on Tuesday as well. A big up to Napstars and Paredes for gifting multiple memberships in the recent deadline streams, and I also gifted 10 myself in that particular occasion. But let's get straight into your questions, comments, and all that jazz. Jaren says, Sells clean sheet, is it a lock this week? Either picking up him just for this week or Fernandes for the final game of the season versus Forest. Thoughts on Chelsea versus Forest and the final game week? Well, Chelsea have shown better form than Forest, that's for sure. I do feel differently about that game than I would have a couple of weeks ago. I think Chelsea have a better chance now, but I still think Forest can end this season very strongly. And I think beating Leicester at home this week could definitely give them a bit of momentum and confidence back. I don't think it's a lock for the Sells clean sheet, but it's the most likely on paper, as you'll see with the clean sheet odds that I'll show you later in this stream. So I'd say Sells has the best chance of a clean sheet, but it's not a lock. And I'd rather go for him than Fernandes for the last three gimmicks of the season, despite the fact that Enzo has also performed quite well. Easy says, take a -4 to sell Saliba and Saka to Aina and KDB and activate the bench boost. I like the transfers in, and I discussed both of them in my team selection podcast as part of a -8 hit potentially, which includes buying Visser as well. I'd lean towards yes, but there is still a chance that KDB doesn't start, and we could get information before the deadline. So definitely hold your horses on that one, but my current feeling is that KDB will start the remaining Premier League games that Man City have left. And I think both transfers are worth the hit. I just don't see Saliba or Saka really delivering. Saka could maybe score or assist a goal, but I just don't see Arsenal keeping a clean sheet at Anfield, even if things are kind of wrapped up already. Cylindra says, hey Dylan, with one free transfer and 16 points off the top 1k, is it worth selling Mateta to Cunha/Visser and Murphy to Sharda Elanga for a -4, bench Rodgers? Yeah, I think it's worth a punt. Of course, if you're in a high rank and you're quite happy with where you are, then there is a temptation to go a bit safe, but a hit can still pay off for the last three gimmicks of the season. Now, I personally favour Elanga over Sharda, despite the fact that the form would suggest otherwise. Cunha Visser is a very difficult one, and I'll probably put out a poll in this stream and also include Chris Wood in that conversation. And I wouldn't be surprised if I bought two of them come the deadline, and that depends on if Marmoush is benched. If that's the case, I'll probably find myself buying Cunha and Visser simultaneously. To pick one of them is tough. I would favour Visser this week, but for the next three gimmicks as a whole, that is extremely close and identical, the expected points and also the fixtures and stuff like that. But I would lean towards Visser at this moment in time, but it's really close. Yeah, other option good, but I'd probably stick with the -4 that you mentioned beforehand. I know you can just stick with only one free transfer, but I'll be honest, I think I'd take the -4 hit and go for the jugular. Cyril says, should I use a transfer on getting out Raya? I don't have any other playing goalkeeper. Yeah, free transfer's fine. I wouldn't mind that. I like Raya and Arsenal players for Southampton away in Gameweek 38, but that hasn't been a happy hunting ground for the Gunners, and even when Southampton have been really poor over the last couple of years, Arsenal just haven't been able to beat them for one reason or another. So, look, I think Arsenal will beat them this time round, despite all the doom and gloom surrounding the club right now. But, yeah, I think for Gameweek 36 and 37, I'd be surprised if Arsenal got good results in both matches. I think you can definitely go to a better goalkeeper, and I think Sells is the standout. Cyril says, still unsure about my forward three. I have Visser, Marmoush, and Isak, but Cunha and Wood are also very tempting. Only one free transfer available. I get that. It's going to be a big conundrum this week. Of course, Marmoush looks really appealing if he starts, but if he doesn't, of course, then he could be easily dropped for one of Cunha, Visser, or Chris Wood. My current preference is Visser, and I've said that all week, but I could see myself buying him and Cunha at the same time. Poke Me says, start one of Livramento, Bradley, Timber. I would lean towards Livramento, to be fair, but it's an extremely tight one. Bradley over Timber makes sense, and he will start, which I'll also discuss very soon. Or sell one for either a Forest defender or go spicy with Coyote. Yeah, Coyote's decent for the attacking threat, and I also think he can get the best out of Mbumo in the team. I just don't trust Brentford defensively. I'm sorry to say that. I think Ipswich Town could score here. I would go for a Forest defender, if you can, and I'm looking at something similar. James123 says, hello Dylan. Firstly, thanks for the videos every week, and always reading everyone's questions out. So I'm thinking of either selling Murphy or Sarr for Bowen, and Mateta for Visser. What do you think? Thank you very much. It's great to hear that, and well, hopefully you have a great end to this season. Your transfer plans are sound, and I think a lot of us will have similar ideas. But yeah, I think buying Bowen this week might not be like the most template pick in the world. I think he could be a little bit overlooked now. I'll be honest, his record at Old Trafford isn't particularly great, and I think United could win this game very narrowly. So I don't expect a high-scoring affair. Let's see how horribly that ages, but I do like Bowen. I think he's worth buying in, and he is fixture-proof, very consistent. There's a lot to like there. He's an upgrade on Murphy and Sarr. There's no doubt about it in my mind. I'd probably sell Sarr instead of Murphy. I know Murphy's minutes have been all over the place, but I think Sarr could be benched in one of the next 2 games, and I also think Crystal Palace will be sidetracked by the FA Cup final. Mateta to Visser, great transfer. I like it. I think Visser's ownership is slowly creeping up, and he could become a fairly template pick by the end of the deadline, but yeah, I think this is a good transfer in. If not, you've got Cunha and Chris Wood. That's the way I'd rank things at the moment in the forward line. Afnan says sell one of Strand Larsen, Murphy, Van Dijk, or Raya, or sell 2 for a hit. Well, Raya is the worst this week on paper, but taking a hit for a goalkeeper does seem a bit, well, far from ideal, let's put it that way, especially with 3 game weeks left in the season. I would focus on selling Strand Larsen first because you can go to one of those forwards that I just mentioned there. Those 3 are the standouts, I think, to buy for Game Week 36 and beyond. Omara says, hello Dylan, currently at 1.2 million rank. Which one is better? Bruno to KDB, Salah to KDB, Vardy to Haaland for a -8, and triple captain Haaland, or just do Bruno to KDB and captain Visser, save the triple captaincy? Well, if that's your only chip left, then you could definitely utilize it in any given game week remaining, but yeah, I'd be tempted by Game Week 38 for the triple captaincy. Now, Erling Haaland, he could start, which Pep Guardiola suggested in his press conference yesterday, and if he does, then the ceiling is definitely there against Southampton, but it's his first game back, so I think his minutes will be managed, and I also think the match sharpness could be lacking a little bit, but it all depends on how long Haaland's been training. I don't really know that or have that information, so it is a bit of a question mark. I'd rather triple captain someone in Game Week 38, which tends to be very high scoring, and I think the likes of Salah, Isak, and also maybe more differential options could really rise to the surface. You might even want to go for Jared Bowen there, for example. But yeah, I'd personally do that with a triple captaincy. And as for your -8 question, I would rather keep Salah and sell Bruno Fernandes instead to go to Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah, so we don't know for sure if Haaland will start, and I'll discuss the quotes by Pep Guardiola very soon. But I did say even last week that I felt Haaland could be back once I saw him on the bench against Wolves, but he didn't play a single minute there in Game Week 35. So, look, Haaland could definitely start for sure, but then only play 50, 60 minutes. That is a real possibility. My prediction at the moment is for Haaland to start and get 70 and be subbed off there. Welcome, Lager. Always good to see you. Hey, Dylan. Isak and Mateta to Wood and Visser for a -4. I like the transfers in. There's no question about it. I'm just a little bit hesitant about selling Isak for a hit. I think selling him is fine because he's very template and you're going for lower owned players who can definitely push up the ranks, and they've got a higher ceiling this week, you could argue. And in my captaincy list, I actually have Isak a little bit lower than usual, but he is fixture proof. He has scored against Chelsea earlier this season, and we all know the quality of player that Isak is. But yeah, overall I'd lean towards yes. But there is still something in the back of my mind which kind of thinks maybe just make one of those moves and avoid the -4 hit. Welcome, Sidnika. Yogesh says play Sarr or Rodgers. I would play Morgan Rodgers. I agree with Lager. Thank you for the super chat. So Anish puts his team, sells Ruben Dias, Gavardio, Cucurella, Salah, Imbumo captain, Rogers, Eze, Visser, Marmoush, Wood, Raya, Asensio, Kivio, Saliba on the bench. Who to buy? I think a Forest defender would look very enticing. I mean, you've got that triple up in the Gunners defense, which I'm not saying you have to rip up entirely, because you could keep Raya and one of those defenders, for example, for Gameweek 38 against Southampton, but they're all very benchable against Newcastle and then, of course, Liverpool this weekend. So I would recommend selling one of those players. So maybe Raya to sells, or you go from, let's say, Saliba to Milenkovic. I would consider that, and then, of course, starting those players. But yeah, to be fair, you have sells already. So I'd consider doubling up. So I think I'd probably go from Saliba to Milenkovic and then start him over Cucurella. So then you've got an entire back line, which is kind of all in on two teams. So you've got Sells and Milenkovic facing Leicester at home, and you've got Ruben Dias and Gavardio facing Southampton away. I think that looks fairly enticing, actually. Your attack is fairly good. I have to say it's really strong in my opinion. But I would make that transfer now. And if we get information before the deadline that Marmoush is benched, you could sell him to Matheus Cunha. And I think your team is pretty well set there for Gameweek 36. You might also be tempted to sell one of Rogers or Eze in the midfield, but that would be a luxury, I think. I'd probably keep things as they are there and instead focus on Saliba to Milenkovic or any Forest defender of your choice. It could be Aina or Nico Williams if you want to. And then I would go from Marmoush, if he's benched, to Matheus Cunha. King Jr. says, hi Dylan, hope you're doing well. Should I start Bruno or Rogers this week? That is a good one. Very close call. I mean, Bruno Fernandes had that purple patch recently in the Premier League, but all of the focus for Man United has been shifted to the Europa League. Yeah, it's a really close one. I would go for Bruno Fernandes, but not by much. And Rogers is very difficult to predict with his returns. Christian United says, going bold, Salah drop for McAllister to allow Haaland in for Marmoush. Yeah, definitely is bold. I mean, there is no guarantee Haaland will start, but even off the bench, I think he can do a great job. And I personally think he will get the nod. But yeah, I mean, Salah, I know he's facing Arsenal, who are still a decent defence, but I think Salah will score, to be honest. Who's the best goalkeeper for the remaining game weeks? So I did cover this in my wildcard video yesterday. I went for Sells and Pickford simultaneously. And for those on the bench boost, it's perfect. You've got Sells this week at home to Leicester. Then you have both of them next week. So Sells facing West Ham away and Pickford hosting Southampton. But if I had to pick only one goalkeeper, it's probably going to be Sells. McNeil or Enzo, thoughts? Thinking about selling Sarr or Murphy? Well, Enzo Fernandez looks more appealing with the return of Lavia, which is something I highlighted when we saw that happen a few weeks ago. I wouldn't go for Enzo Fernandez this week against Newcastle. I think the Toon could get the victory here, but I'm less convinced now than I was a few weeks ago because Chelsea have shown more consistency. Another tough question though, and something different which is good to see. I'd maybe take a punt on McNeil, but Everton are so unreliable offensively that I wouldn't blame you if you decide, you know what, I'm just going to go for Enzo Fernandez. I get that. In terms of selling Sarr or Murphy, as I mentioned a few minutes ago towards the beginning of the stream, I would probably sell Sarr first. Ahmed says, I have Sells, Munoz, Mikalenko, Aït-Nouri, Rogers, Mbumo, Salah, Bowen, Isak, Cunha, Visser. My assistant manager is Pep. Bench is Pickford, Kirkes, Cucurella, Murphy. Looks good. If that's your bench order, though, it's not a big deal, but I would change things a little bit. So, for example, I'd put Murphy ahead of Cucurella and probably ahead of Kirkes as well. As for your starting 11, I would be tempted to buy a Forest defender for Gameweek 36. So you can get someone like Milenkovic, for example, and then displace Mikalenko from that starting 11. I don't trust Everton as much defensively now under David Moyes, and the only reason that I'd go for Pickford and Mikalenko is for Gameweek 37 against Southampton at home, and even then, it isn't a guaranteed clean sheet in my opinion, but that's one transfer I'd consider making for your team to bolster your defensive line and drop Mikalenko to the bench, as I think Fulham will score. Apart from that, I'm very happy with what you've got, to be fair. I'm not a huge fan of Bowen this week, but I wouldn't sell him. I think he's a good option for the last 3 game weeks of the season, and starting him is fine. So it's really that defensive line I'd look to bolster a little bit. Why Rogers over Sarr? Well, I'll probably make some transfers here, so I could end up doing something like De Bruyne in for Murphy or Ismail Assar. One of them could make way. I could also buy Aina in my defensive line for Saliba to fund that other transfer, and then Vissa for Mateta. But yeah, it's just with Ismail Assar, he has never scored or assisted against Tottenham, and I also think Crystal Palace could rotate a little bit over the next 2 game weeks, so I don't think Sarr starts both games, and he has been very inconsistent. He has been very difficult to predict. I mean, unless he's playing Aston Villa, where he's almost guaranteed to do something, I think Ismail Assar is one of those players that it's kind of like you get a massive return or absolutely nothing from him. The consistency just isn't there. Yeah, I'm not so sure, Tomer, and we could see a world where Marmoush and Haaland start simultaneously, but that's only because in recent weeks De Bruyne has played as the false 9 and the Egyptian has played on the right-hand side. But I think with Haaland back in the mix, you see De Bruyne in a deeper role, and then you probably see Marmoush drop to the bench and more natural wingers like Savio and Doku, for example. But it is all relative. I just don't think Marmoush starts, let's say 3 of the next 3 Premier League games. I think he will be benched in at least one of them, and this is a good opportunity to give Haaland some minutes, build some match sharpness, and have him ready for the FA Cup final if needed, where I think Marmoush will start that game. But of course, that all depends on the fitness of these respective players. But I'm not entirely sure that Marmoush will start this week, to be honest. Mateta to Vissa and Savio to KDB looks good. I think so. With City, of course, you always get this conundrum. Could it be that Savio starts this week and KDB is benched? That could definitely be the case, but I think De Bruyne is more likely to start the remaining Premier League games than any other City attacker, in my opinion. T-Flip says start 1, Burn, Saliba, or Munoz. Definitely not Saliba. Next season, I'll probably be more bullish on the Arsenal defenders, and I think they will show more consistency from the get-go, but against Liverpool away, no chance. I think Newcastle have the best chance of a clean sheet from those teams that you're mentioning, but Munoz has more avenues to points with the assists, the attacking potential, and the goal scoring from open play. So I'm very conflicted about that one. I would maybe go for Munoz, only just over Burn, like a very fine margin there. Haaland will be subbed on after 70 minutes. Possibly. Ravinder says, I got KDB and Bumo, Salah, Rogers, Murphy, and it is a good move if I change my merge to Vissa or Mateta to Vissa. I'd rather sell Mateta right now. And he's another one who could see himself benched in the next 2 game weeks. But there is the possibility of information before the deadline, and we see that Marmoush is benched. So I could find myself, for example, selling both Mateta and Marmoush and buying Vissa and Cunha. But yeah, in your case, I'd rather sell Mateta. Best defender for the last 3 game weeks was thinking Forest, but they've dropped off recently, and so I'm tempted by Aït-Nouri. Yep, Aït-Nouri does feature in my best wildcard team video as well. I'd urge you to watch that because I break down the best 15-man squad in detail, also looking at those with the bench boost still to use in Gameweek 37. So that works very well with those chips, but I think Aït-Nouri would be a standout. Wolves have been very solid defensively under Vitor Pereira, better than I expected, to be quite honest with you, and Aït-Nouri has multiple avenues to points, a bit like Daniel Munoz, for example. But this week, I'm still tempted to go for the Forest defender. I know they've been poor, and Leicester could maybe score a goal, and I'm less convinced about the clean sheet now than I would have been a few weeks ago. But I would still go for a Forest defender. They have the best chance of a clean sheet according to the odds, 49% if I'm not mistaken. So that would be my first priority. Then it's Aït-Nouri. And afterwards, you've got other options like the Arsenal defenders in Gameweek 38 against Southampton away and Kirkes facing Leicester at home on that particular game week. But you're also thinking about 36 and 37, and I don't think those defenders have the grace of fixtures in that time frame. Play Rogers or Schade? I'd play Schade, but I'm just a bit reticent about him because he can be very inconsistent. I believe he's blanked in 26 games this season. When he does return, though, it tends to be a big one. Isak to Wood? I'm not entirely sure about that, which I've mentioned before, especially for a hit. I'd definitely avoid it if a hit is involved. Charles John says play 1, Wan-Bissaka, Livramento, or O'Brien. I would go for Livramento. Now, based on my predictions, I think none of those teams keep a clean sheet, but Newcastle would have the best chance in my opinion. If Haaland starts, Marmoush will go right wing. I'm not entirely sure about that, which I mentioned a few minutes ago, but it's good to have different opinions. Start Livramento or Konsa, says Johnny. I would chance it on Livramento. So in my team selection video, I discussed selling Murphy instead of Sarr. That's something I have reconsidered in the last couple of days, and I'd probably sell Sarr first. But it's a really close one, and it would not surprise me, by the way, if Sarr ended up hauling when I sold him. Barav says, what do you think about Zubimendi signing for Arsenal when they need a striker? Look, Arsenal's priority should be a striker, but this transfer has been in the works for quite some time. And if you also put into the perspective that Jorginho is leaving, and you've also got Thomas Partey, who it looks like he could stay in the end, but for months it looked like he was going to go. I think signing Zubimendi is fine. And Arsenal need not just a forward, they need a winger, they need an attacking midfielder, and with potential departures of, like I said, Jorginho and Partey, you would definitely need someone there. Otherwise, you leave yourself short and you only play Declan Rice in that position or somebody else and you go a bit experimental. So I think Zubimendi is a good signing for Arsenal. And I think this season when I've seen him, he hasn't been particularly impressive. But I also think he's got that pedigree. He can control the midfield and slow things down. And last season, we saw that partnership of Rice and Jorginho in certain games. And I think it worked very well. I think Zubimendi could play that sort of Jorginho role. And he's obviously got more physicality about him. And Jorginho is, you know, towards the end of his career, you could say. But I think that could be a nice partnership in the midfield for Arsenal. So I'm not against the signing, but you got to get a striker, a prolific one at that, someone who scores every 2 games, if not better than that, who can get 20 plus Premier League goals and help you win the title and all these trophies. Tarek says -4 from Murphy to Alanga. So someone asked this earlier, and I think it was Sudindra, and I was leaning towards yes, because I think Alanga this week can do really well, high ceiling against Leicester, who are a poor defence, and Murphy over the next 2, I'm not particularly fond of, to be quite honest with you, but he is fixture-proof, and Murphy has been a good FPL asset this season. So I don't think it's like a necessary -4 hit, but I think this week it could pay off with that Leicester at home fixture. Ferguson sells Sol Raya to Sells. Yeah, for free. I wouldn't do it for a hit. And I think doubling up on the Forest defence is something I'd love to do this week, but unfortunately, I can only go for 1. Unless I want to take massive hits and just go YOLO, but I don't think that's a smart idea. Mark Castley says, my bench boost is Raya, Murphy, Burn, Gabriel. Thoughts on a -8 to do Williams, 8 Nuri and Alanga for Gabriel, Burn and Murphy. Also still have Mateta. Yeah, so Murphy and Burn are fine. I think Murphy's a good option on the bench boost, but Gabriel and Raya, yeah, so I get why you're making those transfers. So Williams, 8 Nuri, Alanga, that all looks very solid to me. I would rather keep Murphy and sell Mateta to one of Visser, Cunha, or Chris Wood. And take the -8 here, use the bench boost there, Mark, and that looks very solid. Mbumo, Wood, or Salah as a captain? Well, I've currently gone for Mbumo. Salah does rank slightly higher than Chris Wood for me, but not by much. So yeah, thank you to those that have been moderating the chat and also to the members and patrons. Let me go through the member questions as well, just any that I've missed. But Punjabi says, Dylan, my only way of getting KDB is upgrading from Bowen or selling Salah. Well, this week I'd rather have Salah. I would not be selling him against Arsenal. As for Jared Bowen though, I like him a lot for Gameweeks 37 and particularly 38. But this week I'm kind of a bit mixed bag on him. I don't think he's going to return. And I'll happily be proven wrong there. But if I had to pick one route, it would be selling Jared Bowen. And you can always go back to him at some stage. Zaid says, when should I triple captain and to who? I did say this before. If that's your only chip remaining, I'd consider using it in Gameweek 38, which tends to be very high scoring. And you could go to Mohamed Salah against Crystal Palace at home, Saka away to Southampton, Bowen away to Ipswich Town. You've also got Isak at home to Everton. You've got plenty of options there, and I think we can get some huge returns as we typically get in Gameweek 38. Now, if you really want to use it now, I don't blame you. You've got decent options as well. It's just the minutes for the Man City players are a bit all over the place. You might want to go for Mbumo or Visser against Ipswich Town away this week. But yeah, my preference, I think, would be Gameweek 38. Goldhead says, so many options this week. Mateta, Marmoush, Saliba, all on the chopping block. Visser, Wood, Forest defence on the list. How would you order it generally? Well, Saliba's the worst for this week, and also I'm not too fond of him against Newcastle home in 37. I think Mateta's the priority sell, though, because you can go to forwards like Cunha, Vissa, etc., who have a very high ceiling and good remaining fixtures. I think Marmoush only becomes a priority if we know he's benched for sure before the deadline, and I can't guarantee that we'll get that information, to be fair, so it might have to be a coin toss and you have to take a risk either way, whether you keep him or end up selling him. But I think Saliba would be bottom of that priority list, actually. I know the Forest defence looks very appealing this week, but their form hasn't been great, and at least Saliba can offer you a good chance of a clean sheet on paper against Southampton away in Gameweek 38. Nika says bench 1, Kluivert, Bowen, Marmoush. I would bench Jared Bowen at the moment. Very close, though. Who are the 3 best managers? I'll go to the different screens now, and we'll go for the predicted points so you can see for yourself there as well, and I'll highlight my favourite ones there too. So let's go to the FPL League, and big up to the thousands of members we have here, and also for UCL Fantasy. You can still join, by the way. Your points from Gimmick 1 will still be added, so you can see how you fare against those that have been in the league all season. And of course, big up to Callum, who's been doing really well all season, and hopefully you can have a very strong end to the campaign. The league code can be found in the description. There's also an auto-join link, and in other screens that you'll see very soon, it will be on the left-hand side, so it's very easy to follow and also to join the FPL Dilla Mini League. With the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, over the next 3 game weeks, which is all we have left, Ipswich Town are top. We also have Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves and Fulham completing that top 5 list. As for those near the bottom, we've got Brighton, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Chelsea and Aston Villa. But this will change very quickly. For example, if you look at after Gameweek phase 6, I think Arsenal would then shoot up to the top positions. Yeah, so they're 5th, facing Newcastle home and Southampton away. So yeah, with only 3 game weeks left, this is going to be extremely volatile, to say the least. With predicted points in Gameweek 36, Salah is top with 7. Isak and De Bruyne complete the top 3. We've also got Cunha, Saka, Vissa, Marmoush, Wood, Mbumo, and Palmer. So Mbumo's not that favoured by Fantasy Football Hub compared to his teammate Vissa. Only a 0.1 difference, to be fair. And you've also got Cunha, who's ranked the highest in terms of those forwards that we're all talking about, with the exception, of course, of Alexander Isak, who some people are considering selling. So I was asked about the assistant managers, and these are the top 5 for the remaining game weeks. Postecoglou, Amrim, Guardiola, Arteta, and Graham Potter. My favourite remains Pep Guardiola, which I discussed in the last deadline stream. Yeah, I think that's probably going to remain the case, to be fair. I just don't think Spurs and United can be relied upon, and all their focus will be on that Europa League final. I think Arne Slot is kind of a safe, sensible option. But if you're not going for Pep, my advice would be to chase table bonus and go for the jugular. Now, that does become slightly... It's obviously high risk, high reward, and you could either get 0 to 5 points or you get an absolute mammoth score. I mean, Oliver Glasner would spring to mind, but he's also got that FA Cup final in Gameweek phase 7, just like Pep Guardiola, but I think City could rotate and still get 2 or possibly 3 out of 3 victories from the remaining matches. So my favourite, to be honest, it does sound boring, is going to be Pep Guardiola. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at, yeah, even Vitor Pereira. The table bonus opportunities are gone there for him. Eddie Howe. I like him for the 2 home games, and to be fair, he's done really well against Arsenal this season, but I still don't think he wins 3 out of 3 games with Eddie Howe. Yeah, that's a difficult one. I think I'm going to stick with Pep Guardiola. That is the boring answer, I guess. You will have a few table bonus opportunities with Spurs and United if you want to go there, but I just don't trust any of them, to be honest. With player prices, Mbumo, Gvardiol, Flecken, Aina, and Chris Wood could all go up in price tonight, whilst Isak, Marino, Raya, Bruno Guimaraes, Robinson, Quansah, Hill, Kluivert, Gabriel, Taylor, Kelleher, Trossard, Szoboszlai, Beto, Ismail Assar, and Jacob Murphy, they could all go down, but it isn't a guarantee, and some of these might not happen. With the stats, let's compare Cunha and Vissa, 2 of the best forwards to buy in Gameweek 36, and the stats are identical. They've both got 22 goal contributions this season. Cunha has fewer appearances, so that's maybe a little advantage to him, and more bonus points. In terms of shots, Cunha does have more with 97, but if you compare the shots in the box, Vissa has 68, 18 more than Matheus Cunha. With the XG as well, there's a massive difference, with Vissa having 16.22 to Cunha 7.45, but the Brazilian has been very clinical this season. Only 7 big chances there for him, and 31 for Johan Vissa. 12 big chance created though for Cunha, and only 3 for Vissa. So in terms of creativity, you'll get much more from Cunha and also bonus points. But in terms of sustainable goal-scoring numbers and big opportunities, that will definitely be in Vissa's court. And I don't mind doubling up on that Brentford attack with Mbeumo and Vissa there. But having all of them at the same time, that's the ideal scenario, isn't it? And I might find myself buying both of them if Marmoush is benched and we get that information before the deadline. The last few things I want to show you include fpl.team, and this is my provisional Gameweek 37 squad, assuming that I buy Aina this week, De Bruyne, and Vissa for a -8 here, which might seem a bit excessive. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. I discussed this in my team selection video a few days ago, and it looks great for this week on paper, but it's still very risky, and maybe it ends up backfiring massively. But it could be Jacob Murphy staying instead of Ismail Assar. I'm kind of open to that sort of thing. I like Murphy for Gameweek 38 against Everton, and I don't actually mind him too much against Chelsea this week. So maybe I do something like this where I keep Murphy and start him over Morgan Rogers. If we now go to FPL Challenge, which I'll mainly refer to by the deadline, because we'll focus fully on FPL for the next few hours, and then we'll go towards FPL Challenge for a little bit. But I've currently got Sells in goal, Van Dijk, Salah captain, Mbeumo and Vissa. The challenge this week is that any Liverpool or Arsenal player will have their points doubled, and this same kind of structure will apply to future game weeks, but including different teams there as well. But last week I got 44 points. It wasn't particularly great, and I went all in on the Chelsea-Brighton players, and only Isak did something for me. But yeah, there is definitely high scoring potential there. I might even change one or two aspects of this team, particularly with Van Dijk to, let's say, another Forest defender, for example, because I can't do that in my FPL team without taking massive hits or neglecting my forward line. So let's now go back to my FPL squad, and I think that's a good idea to do it now in terms of a poll about the best forward, and we'll leave it to run for quite a while, have hundreds of votes in there, and see what the community think about Cunha, Chris Wood, and Vissa. So which forward would you prioritize? That's the way I'm going to phrase it. So let's go for Chris Wood, Cunha, and Vissa. Those are the 3 options I'm putting there. There could be other forwards, Watkins, for example, and stuff like that, but I'm going to stick with these 3. Festus says, better to do Mateta to Vissa for free, or take a -4 Salah and Marmoush to Haaland and Shada. I would stick with the free transfer. I think Salah will do well this week, and I don't think selling him for a hit is viable. I know his form has been really poor, but he does step up against the big names, so to speak, and the best teams. West Ham are shaky, Paqueta having issues, Soucek has a new baby. Well, I've actually gone for a Man United win, and I'm going to show you my predictions very soon. That's a good question, Genius Gamer. I don't think he starts the FA Cup final, so oddly enough, that could actually bode well for him against Southampton away. But Pep Guardiola is very difficult at times to predict, let me put it that way. But if I had to lean one way or the other, I'd say yes. I would lean towards Murphy at the moment, James, and that's something I might change. Well, I've got Murphy starting at the moment, but if I were to bring in those players that I mentioned before in FPL.team, my original plan was to start Rodgers over Murphy, for example. I might end up just starting Murphy and keeping him, and Sar's the one to make way. Markichu says, hi Dylan, a bit of a lengthy one. I have Raya, Areola, Gvardiol, Munoz, Saliba, Bradley, Konsa, Rodgers, Salah, Sar, Savio, Saka, Isak, Mateta, and Marmoush with 2 free transfers and the AM chip left. So it's kind of a boring play, and I'm not sure if you're happy with where you are in terms of rank, if you want to go really aggressive, but my favourite assistant manager is Pep Guardiola. That's my recommendation there. The problem with that is it does prevent you from having free City assets, and I think right now you could definitely make a case for Marmoush up front, if he starts, De Bruyne and Gvardiol. That is the main issue, I think. But I would sell Savio. I know he's template, but I think Mbeumo looks really good this week. I think what I'd end up doing is Mateta to probably Vissa, and you can go for Cunha if you wish. I would do Savio to Mbeumo, and then go for Pep Guardiola as your assistant manager. Sar to KDB no hit? Yeah, Ivy. The only concern with that is if De Bruyne is benched, but I think he'll start. Rodgers to KDB or roll? I'd go to KDB now, to be fair. But it all depends on your prediction. Do you think De Bruyne starts? Because you might have a doubt in the back of your mind, which, to be fair, I kind of do, but I'm not sure about percentage, but it's more likely, I think, that he will start than De Bruyne being benched. So at the moment, Vissa is winning this poll quite handsomely, but Chris Wood and Cunha are sharing second place with 25% of the votes each. So quite an interesting poll there. Be sure to keep on voting. Very easy to do that, and you can change your vote. Andy C. Max says start one from Munoz, Sar or Rodgers. It's a close one, to be fair. I would lean towards Rodgers at the moment. Thinking sells from Alisson. Yeah, Liverpool have a good chance of winning this weekend, but I still think they can concede. Sells, if you can buy him for free, I think that's a good transfer. CT says many strikers and midfielder options. Isak, Watkins, Wood, Vissa, Marmoush, Cunha. KDB, Rodgers, Eze, Elanga. Yeah, Eze might be sold by a lot of people though, because you've got the Gameweek 37 FA Cup final, of course, so maybe Palace rotate in the next 2 game weeks. And yeah, I just think there are other midfielders like Jared Bowen who might not look great this week, but you'd want him for the remaining game weeks. Best Trippier replacement, I got Milenkovic and Gvardiol already. I don't mind doubling up on that Forest defence, so that could be Aina or Nico Williams. I think this week, if you're buying a defender, those would stand out. Otherwise, just go for Aït-Nouri. Vignesh says Mateta to Vissa, Eze to KDB for a -4. Yes is my answer. I would go for it. Ayush Das says bench Pickford, O'Brien, Rodgers, Howson. Should I play the bench boost? It's not a bad bench. I don't think Everton keep a clean sheet against Fulham, but Rodgers, decent option there. Of course, he clashes with Howson, but I'm just wondering how your bench would look like in Gameweek 37 and your overall squad, which is the most important thing. But it's a decent bench. I mean, as long as you get more than 10 points, of course, and ideally more than 15, I think you'd be very happy with that. Baraf puts his team as well. Should I play Salah and who should I bench? I'm pushing for rank. I get it, but I will not be benching Salah. He's actually still highly ranked in my captaincy list, and I'm going to go to that very, very soon. Once more, I think if you can find a way to drop Raya, perhaps go to Sells for free, I'd recommend that sort of move. The rest looks very solid, to be fair. Yeah, I'm very happy with it, but I would not be benching Salah, no chance. So let me show you the team selection graphics, and straight afterwards I'll be showing you the top 10 captaincy list and clean sheet odds and all of that. And these are all basically, they were shown a few days ago in my team selection video. So the Gameweek 35 review, which is probably one of the worst weeks of my season. And I had a very good run recently of green arrows, but that's now 2 red arrows in the last 3 game weeks, and the only green I got was from the free hit in Gameweek 34. But yeah, not the rank I want to be at, and the aim is to get into that top 100k by the end of the season and then do much better in the next campaign. But yeah, it's going to be a big push, and it probably requires some thinking outside the box and going very aggressive. So one transfer I'm looking to make is Saliba to Aina. So this does one of 2 things. I get a Forest defender against Leicester at home, and as bad as Forest have been recently, I think they've got the best chance of a clean sheet in Gameweek 36. But the second thing it does is allow a transfer in the midfield of selling one of Murphy, Sar or Rodgers to Kevin De Bruyne. Now, my feeling has changed a little bit. I'd rather keep Murphy right now and sell one of the other 2, preferably Ismaila Sarr, and just go to KDB, I think, for the rest of the season. So that is something I'm looking at, but it does mean a -4 hit. And if I also want to sell Mateta and go to Vissa or Cunha, that would be a -8 hit overall, as I've only got 1 free transfer. And some of the prices, by the way, could be out of date because there were some changes overnight, but they will be updated for future videos and podcasts and live streams, so don't worry about all of that jazz. So with those provisional transfers, and I think the thing you should bear in mind is that Murphy would probably be kept and I'd sell Sarr. I could also do Marmoush to Cunha, of course, if Marmoush is benched and we get that information before the deadline, but that is something I can't really guarantee to you at this moment in time. So I would assume I'm going to keep Marmoush and Jacob Murphy and just buy at least 2 of those 3 players I mentioned, maybe even go for 3 of them and take the -8 hit. So it'd be Verbruggen away to Wolves with Raya on the bench who faces Liverpool. I'd have Aina, Milenkovic, Gvardiol, and that would look like a very solid defence in my opinion. And yeah, to be fair, I do have Milenkovic already, so I can double up on the Forest defence, but it would be for a -8 hit with the other transfers in mind. So getting De Bruyne there, a trip up in City against Southampton away looks very encouraging. Should Pep Guardiola not kind of like do us over and bench some of these players? Salah facing Arsenal, I think, is very enticing still. Mbuma and Vissa facing Ipswich Town away. Rodgers, I think, is questionable. I might actually bench him for Jacob Murphy instead. Isak facing Chelsea at home, all looks very solid. And on the bench here, it would be Raya. Probably, I'd say, in the end, it would be Rodgers on the bench and Murphy in the 11. Munoz and Livramento. So that is my provisional Gameweek Phase 6 team. And the captaincy would likely be on Mbeumo, but I'm tempted by Vissa and Kevin De Bruyne. Those are my top 3 for the captaincy overall, not just in this provisional 15-man squad. And I'll be showing you the captaincy list in just a few minutes. The expected points has probably changed a little bit in the last couple of days, but it was like this very recently. Verbruggen with 3.9 to Rise 4 expected points. Aina and Milenkovic have around 4, which is quite decent for a defender. And Gvardiol has close to 5, so that is very solid there. I've also got Rodgers, who has 4.8. Sarr has 4.5, and I believe Jacob Murphy has an even lower tally, but there was another reason why I was considering selling Jacob Murphy, and if I'm not mistaken, his record against Chelsea isn't particularly great. So that's something I'm going to double check for you now. But that would put me off a little bit in terms of keeping Jacob Murphy, or at least starting him in Gameweek 36. So okay, he has scored against Chelsea before, but only 1 goal in 11 appearances. That is not a good record at all. And the goal came at Stamford Bridge last season. So he has never scored or assisted against them at St James's Park. I mean, there could be a first time for everything, but doesn't look particularly great, if I'm being honest there. Thank you, Lager, as well, for moderating the chat, and also to those who have been patient. Ahmed says Murphy to Elanga. Yeah, that is tempting, to be fair. My priority in the midfield is De Bruyne. It is high risk, high reward, but I think it is probably worth it, and I should have taken the punt last week. There is no news on Haaland per se, J-Braz, but I will show you the updates and quotes now, since I've shown you this section. Expected points, of course, you can see Mbeumo, I think, is now gone up to 5.4, so very identical to before. Salah has 7, De Bruyne has 5.4, that could even be higher now. Marmoush, Isak and Vissa all have solid numbers, and the bench also fairly decent. It might even outscore my bench from Gameweek 32 when I bench boosted, but that's all done and dusted. No more chips remaining for me, only 1 free transfer, and a lot of work to do to bolster my FPL team. So let's now go to predictions and all of these different graphics. So I've gone for Fulham 1, Everton 1, Ipswich Town 1, Brentford 3, Southampton 0, Man City 3, Wolves 2, Brighton 2, Bournemouth 2, Aston Villa 1, Newcastle 3, Chelsea 1, Man United 1, West Ham 0, Nottingham Forest 2, Leicester 0, Tottenham 2, Crystal Palace 1, and Liverpool 3, Arsenal 1. But there are some predictions I'm a bit unsure about. So one of them is the Wolves-Brighton 1, maybe 2-1 Wolves. Bournemouth-Villa, I was considering a 2-2 there. And even for Arsenal, they are currently on a 4-game winless streak with 3 consecutive losses. I mean, would it surprise me if they went to Anfield and drew 1-1? No. But I'm going to go for Liverpool to win here. And I just think in terms of momentum, also morale, they would be definitely in a much better place than the Gunners. But let's move on to the other graphics, and that includes the heat map, team weaknesses, and the highlight play this week is kind of a very simple one, if I'm not mistaken. A very simple one here. and he actually got a 10 point in the reverse fixture in a 4-3 thriller. So Visser is one of the standout picks this week. The blue circles indicate the chances conceded by Ipswich Town this season, and the heat map tucked just underneath is Visser's heat map in terms of shots. So it looks very appealing there. He is a true fox in the box. He's not going to shoot very often from outside the area, and I think he's a great option here to double up on that Brentford attack. But let's go to the clean sheet odds and over 2 goals. So you've got Nottingham Forest there at top position with 49% chance of a clean sheet. Man City are second with 45%, but in terms of combining that and the over 2 goals odds, they are the standout team in Gameweek 36. Fulham are third with Man United, Brentford and Liverpool completing the top 6 in order of clean sheet odds. And actually, I think, to be honest, yeah, there is a mistake there. For last place, that should be different. I'm not sure if I can update it now, but yeah, ignore 20th place. The top 6, though, is accurate according to Gameweek 36, so I do apologise for that. Let's now go to, well, the captaincy. Before I go to the injury updates and read out everything that we saw from yesterday, be sure to drop a like and also subscribe to the channel. Mbeumo is my number 1 pick for the captaincy, but it is very close to say the least. De Bruyne is second and Visser completes the podium. Haaland is 4th with the assumption that he starts. Salah, Wood, Cunha, Isak, Marmoush and Palmer complete the top 10. There is the possibility that De Bruyne, Haaland and Marmoush start all at the same time, but I think one of them will be benched. That is my prediction there, and that's why Marmoush is a bit lower ranked than he was in previous weeks, and he has been disappointing in this kind of new role on the right-hand side to accommodate Kevin De Bruyne as the false 9. So let me see if I can quickly update some things, but maybe I'll leave that for a little while. We have a long time, of course, until the deadline, over an hour there. Before I update some graphics and stuff like that, let me go to the team news from yesterday. So Bradley will start for Liverpool tomorrow, and Arne Slot said, a lot of influences on decisions I make, and one of them is losing. So I am not looking to lose all 4, but there are more things into a lineup than losing or rotating, so we will see. And of course, feel free to, you know, pause and rewind and all that stuff to read all the quotes if you wish. So Eddie Howe said this about Newcastle team news. We have a couple of players we are assessing, and we will see how they are this weekend. Other than that, they have all trained well all week. And on Joelinton, he said, I saw Joe yesterday. He had come back from treatment in Brazil. I think he's feeling pretty good. Whether we see him before the end of the season, we'll see. Next up is Brighton. So Matoma is in contention for a Brighton return. Hurstler said, Matoma is back on the pitch. He trained with the team. He will be an option for tomorrow, but Solimarch is out for the rest of the season. And other news includes a Jorginho Rutter update, and he said he's doing rehab. He won't be an option for tomorrow, but hopefully we will see him this season. James Milner is back on the pitch with the team, but with the rehab coaches, overall it's negative and positive feedback on our players. Next in line is Southampton, and Simon Ross said, we've trained quite vigorously, but as it stands, we have a fairly clean bill of health. Mateus Fernandes has recovered and trained well this week, and hopefully he can put in a good performance this weekend. It's about finding the balance of what we need in particular moments of games. And Thomas Frank gave a lengthier update than usual, and he said everyone who was ready for Man United is available again. We got Igor Thiago in the squad against Man United and also on the pitch, so we are very pleased with that. Igor is over the worst part and getting into training now. It's just about giving him the right load, like with any player. And of course, you can read the rest of that quote as well. Aaron Hickey is getting closer. He is short of being in the next squad, but hopefully he can be involved in one of the last 2 games. Let's see. It's about building him correctly. And Ruud van Nistelrooy said the following. There's one update on Buonanotte, who is back after his concussion against Wolves. He came through that process well and is available for Sunday. The other injuries that we spoke about ahead of the Southampton game are not available. And that was actually covered in my last deadline stream as well. So Creswell, Fabianski, Soufal and Ings are all going to leave West Ham. That was confirmed by the club yesterday. Man United team news from Amarim. Bruno Fernandes doesn't have the problem of any injury, but Harry Maguire has. So we have to manage that, but they have to play, and it is better than to stay out. I have to make a choice what is best for the club, not what is best for me. I made a choice in this moment. I'm going to try to save all of the players because it's really important for us to win the Europa League final. So, of course, the big news yesterday was about Erling Haaland, and Guardiola said the following: ready, he's fit. If you'll start, we'll decide tomorrow. Still, Rodri's not available. Oscar Bob and Nathan Ake started training with us, but still not available. And David Moyes actually gave an update here on Everton. So we have one or two knocks we'll look at. There are one or two things we need to keep an eye on. It's much better having competition. The truth is, my plan was not to play Dominic Calvert-Lewin last week, but I just felt the way the game was going, we might have needed something with a bit of quality at the end of it to get a goal. And Adam Wharton, unfortunately, is a big doubt. In fact, he isn't available. And Oliver Glasner said, no, unfortunately, he's not available. If everything goes right, he'll be reintegrated in full training next week. And on Wednesday, when we start preparing for the FA Cup final, he is the only one who can't play. All the others are fit and available. 90% he can play in the FA Cup final, but always things can happen. Sunday at Tottenham is too early. The pain is too much for this game. His ligament is a little bit damaged. That is the reason, the only reason he can't play. So Murillo, we got an update on him. He has been able to do part of the training sessions, but we still have to assess him tomorrow. He is doing part of the training session, not the full session, so hopefully he's available for Sunday. And Marcus Silva and Fulham. Some concerns, unfortunately, for us from the last game, as you saw with Harrison Reed. Surgery of Timothy Castagna took place last week and will be out until pre-season. Sasa Lukic is going to be out, unfortunately, for us too. And the other two situations is Rodrigo Muniz and Reece Nelson. They've been out. We are going to be without these important players, but we have to be resilient, and there's always a chance for others to come in and show their quality. And we are approaching the final quote from yesterday's press conferences, and it's from McKenna and Ipswich Town. Axel Tuanzebe came through the week well, and he's had a good training week. Still struggling a little bit with Calvin Phillips and Gajuste in terms of the ongoing issues they have and getting them to fully available to train and get to their best. But we'll have to make a decision tomorrow. I don't think anything else new from from where we've been. So that's it. All done in terms of injury updates, and feel free, like I said, to rewind. I might play this again one more time, but I'm not going to read them out. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to get a bit boring there, to say the least. Let's have a look at the poll and how it's going. So Vissa is still leading quite comfortably, 50% of the votes. Chris Wood is second, and Cunha is bottom. That actually makes me very tempted to buy him, actually. I'm not going to lie. I do like a differential when it goes well. Vissa captain for me, says Baraf. That's fair enough. No worries, Geo boys. Good to see you. Alex ND says, hey Dylan, can you help solve a conundrum? I have a free transfer now, and I'm using a free hit in 37. I assume I cannot carry over that transfer to have 2 in 38. May as well use it now. Yeah, so when you use the free hit, you aren't able to stack another transfer when that happens, so that is a good point. Bestie says, Eze and Mateta to Bowen and Wood for -4. Yes, is my answer. I'm not particularly fond of Bowen this week, and I've gone for a 1-0 Man United win. Duarte says, hey Dylan, I want to bring KDB in for Eze. Should I take a hit? If so, Watkins up for Vissa or Saliba out for Aina? Well, Vissa has the highest ceiling, but that is maybe more volatile in terms of selling a forward to another. You either experience a massive loss or you gain a massive amount. Assuming you've got other defenders to cover for Saliba, and that could be Livramento or someone of that ilk, I'd probably favour Watkins to Vissa for a hit. Rat Dog says, chasing a mini-league leader who doesn't have Mbumo. Didn't last week anyway. Thoughts on selling Salah to Mbumo captain to chase him? Don't care about overall. I'd personally find another way to do that because I think Salah will score this weekend. I've gone for 3-1 Liverpool at the moment. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far because Arsenal have usually been very solid defensively and don't concede more than 2 goals very often. But I would probably buy Mbumo and captain him, but keep Salah in the process. I'm not sure if you've got a different route to go for Brian Mbumo. Milan Borislov says, hi Dylan, who would you sell, Sarr or Murphy? In my team selection, I discussed selling Murphy, but that's something I have changed my mind about in the last couple of days. I think I'd sell Sarr instead with the FA Cup final in 37, and I also think Murphy looks a little bit more appealing for the 2 home games in 36 and 38. Let me know your thoughts there in the live chat as well. It is a good question and something I'm still thinking about now. Amad Diallo triple captain, let's go. Good morning, FPL legend. Well, that's definitely a big play, but he has been back for a week or two now, and I think Amad Diallo, I mean, he was a shining spark in United's dismal season, so fair enough. Good luck with that. Festus says, thoughts on Arsenal signing Zubimendi for 60 million? I think it's 40 million, if I'm not mistaken. I need to double check that, but I was asked this before. Just to kind of recap my thoughts very quickly, I don't think it's a bad signing, and yes, I've been banging the drum about a striker for some years now, and that's clearly the difference between Arsenal being a good team and a great team. I think it's a good signing still because Jorginho's leaving. Thomas Partey could be on the way out, although reports indicate he could end up staying. But I think Zubimendi and Rice will have a very good partnership in the midfield if Zubimendi plays to that sort of level and also play style of Jorginho from last season, where Arsenal won a lot of big games with that midfield duo. So I actually think it's a good signing overall, and I think he could bring something a little bit different to the midfield and also be a long-term replacement for Jorginho. So buy Zubimendi, that's great. Get a winger, a top winger as well. Nico Williams, of course, would be like a standout. Get a top quality striker, and there's still more work to be done. I think Arsenal need a number 10. I would argue they might even need another attacker on top of the two I just mentioned, so it could be another striker or a winger, or someone who can play both, like Mbeumo, for example. And then, yeah, I think Jordan, who's done really well in La Liga as a backup goalkeeper because Neto was only a loan signing, get all of these done. I mean, if you're pushing FFP and all these different terms and stuff, whatever. I mean, Arsenal need to make a lot of signings, and they've left themselves a lot of work now because of the failures of the last summer and also the last two January windows. If on a bench boost, would you sell Saliba or Raya, and to who? Well, I think ultimately both of them have a very similar kind of point scoring. Saliba would be better for bonus points, to be fair, but I don't see Arsenal defenders or Raya getting any of them in the next two game weeks. I'd probably rather sell Saliba. He's more expensive. You've got more options to choose from in that defense, and you can buy an attacking fullback like Aït-Nouri. You might even want to go for Milenkovic or these Forest defenders who can score or assist from time to time. So I'd rather sell Saliba. Basuna says, hey Dylan, I'm chasing 60 points in my mini league. What should I do? Thinking of Sarr to Schade for -4. So in my recent Transtips podcast, I did discuss Schade as a skip. He can definitely do well against Ipswich Town. There's no doubt about it. I've gone for a 3-1 Brentford win, so Schade could definitely be involved, but he is very inconsistent. I believe he's blanked in 26 league games this season. When he does return, though, it tends to be a big one, so I get why you want to go for it. And do I think Schade is an upgrade on Sarr? I actually do, especially this week, but I'd be more inclined to buy even Jarrod Bowen for the last 3 game weeks, maybe not so much for this week, to be fair. You've also got, of course, Mbeumo's very template, but I'd maybe focus your efforts on the forward line. So it could be Mateta to Cunha or Wissa and take that sort of -4 hit and bench Ismaila Sarr in the process. But I'm not sure what your team is looking like right now. And ultimately, with that points gap, it's all about going for the jugular. And Schade has that ceiling and that potential of getting double-digit hauls that it makes such a move possibly worthwhile. So I get why you're thinking about it. Michael says, play bench boost with Elanga, Kirkes, Aït-Nouri and Pope. Yeah, I think so. I think Elanga and Aït-Nouri alone could make that a very solid bench anyway, so I'm on board. Munoz or Kirkes to play? Well, I've gone for a 2-1 Bournemouth win, which I'm a bit concerned about, and a 2-1 Spurs win this week. But both of them have attacking threat. I think Munoz is more likely to score goals, and in terms of assists, I think Kirkes is slightly more likely. I would lean towards Kirkes for the potential clean sheet I think that they can keep this week. I've gone for a 2-1 though, like I said. Yeah, I think Haaland does start, but I have no inside information. It's literally just a guess, and I also discussed this in the last deadline stream when I saw Haaland was on the bench, but he didn't play a single minute there against Wolves. Salah or Cunha captain? I would rank Salah higher, but not by much. I did show the captaincy list earlier, and I'll go back to it very soon. Bojan says Mateta, Isak, Sarr to Wood, Wissa and KDB for a -4. Yes. I'd possibly favour Cunha over Chris Wood over the next 3 game weeks, but good transfers overall. Tengo a Trippier, es cierto que está lesionado. Hice capitán contra el Chelsea. Sí, escuché mucho de Trippier y su lesión contra... que no va a estar disponible contra Chelsea. Pero es raro porque Eddie Howe no lo mencionó en su conferencia de prensa. O por lo menos de lo que vi yo. Pero sí, con Trippier es medio raro. Y siempre tiene problemas de lesiones en el último año. Sí, entonces creo que la semana pasada Eddie Howe dijo... me parece muy raro. Porque dijo que es un cramp, que tiene un problema muy pequeño y no es nada grave. Así que es medio sorprendente. Pero puede ser que es más grave que eso. En el sitio de FPL dice que es un problema muscular. Así que voy a averiguar y después te digo más tarde, y también lo voy a decir en inglés, qué pasa con Kieran Trippier, porque sí, no vi nada en los últimos días de él. A ver si puedo encontrarlo acá. Sí. Yeah. So I think there was an update as well by Eddie Howe recently. And he said that both Cher and Trippier are doing pretty good. So we've got a couple of players we're looking at and assessing. Yeah, we'll see how they are from the weekend. And that's the quote I did mention earlier, but he didn't specifically mention Kieran Trippier. But yeah, I don't think Trippier is like a serious injury. And to say in Spanish as well, no creo que es un problema bastante grave. Es posible que Trippier está disponible contra Chelsea. So thank you to those that have liked the video. Let's get this stream to 100 plus. We are literally 5 likes away from that. And afterwards, let's push on towards new goals. That would be greatly appreciated as well. Don't know what I've done there, but I don't like what I've just done. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that hasn't done anything to the graphics. Let me know if anything changed there for a second. But let's go for some questions, and then later on I'll show the graphics once more. But we still have over an hour left. Néstor dice, Slot ya no piensa jugar con Alexander-Arnold, se merece su despedida con el público. Sí, pero te digo la verdad, mucha hinchada de Liverpool lo odian ahora a Trent, y también es para preparar a Bradley, que va a ser el titular en esa posición el año que viene. Pero yo creo que va a jugar un partido más Trent Alexander-Arnold, por lo menos en la jornada 37 o 38. Es probable que va a empezar el partido contra Crystal Palace para terminar esta temporada, pero ya está cierto que va a jugar Bradley contra Arsenal. Burn to Milenkovic or just start him or Howson, says Ivan Aidama. I would go to Milenkovic, yeah. Ratchet says Raya, Flecken, Nico Williams, Milenkovic, Consul, Livramento, Gavardio, Murphy. Thinking of a -8 because I want a bench boost. Any thoughts? Well, if you wanted a bench boost, I don't like the goalkeeper transfers, to be fair. I'd probably keep what you have. But I would suggest a defender move. So you've got Nico Milenkovic already, that's fine. But I would buy 8 Nuri for Konsa, for example. That looks very solid. You might also want to do Mateta to Vissa. And then Sa to... I mean, depends on your budget. I mean, you've got 5.7 million in the bank. Yeah, I think you can make De Bruyne work. To be honest, Savio's a difficult one because he might start against Southampton, but he's far from nailed in that City team. But I would buy De Bruyne in the midfield if you can, and probably at the expense of Sarr. Hugo Buendia says Saliba, Murphy and Mateta out, Nico Williams and Boomer Vis in. I like all of those moves. They look really solid. I wish I could make all 3 of them at the same time without taking a hit. In my case, though, I would have to take a -4 at least. Yeah, CR, I have made a wildcard video yesterday, so I'd urge you to watch that. There are no changes from it. Yeah, probably. The thing is, though, Crystal Palace could also rotate over the next 2 game weeks as well. So it's a difficult one at this stage of the season, with some teams being in an FA Cup final or Europa League final. So, yeah, it's just Spurs, even with a rotated side or with their full 11, I still think they are very inconsistent and unreliable. But Crystal Palace haven't been in great form overall, beyond the FA Cup. Triple captain and Bumo, it's a solid choice. It's quite template and secure, but you will gain something over those, obviously, without any chips remaining, or those that are just captaining in Bumo. So it's not a bad option. If I had the chip still, I'd probably use it in 38, but that's just my opinion. My first transfer is Mateta to Vissa, and second is open. I already have Mbumo, Bowen, Marmoush, Isak, and Salah. Yeah, same here, Basuno. I'm in a similar position to you. I think if Marmoush is benched, you just go to Cunha or Chris Wood. It's up to you which forward you go to, but those are my favourites, and I would favour Cunha at the moment. The other midfielders and forwards are fine. I wouldn't be selling any of them, to be honest. And if we got the information that the Egyptian starts, I wouldn't be selling Marmoush if that was the case. Louis Gerard says, would you do Mateta and Konsa to Wood and Nico Williams for a -4? Sorry, I just lost your question because my chat literally froze. So I'll get back to it now. Let me just find your message. It might have been buried. I think I'm going to find it. Here we go. And if not, which one of those transfers would you not do? No, I'd do both of them, to be fair. The priority, though, would be Mateta to either Cunha, Vissa, or in your case, Chris Wood. Ashish says, hey, Dylan, Murphy or Rodgers to start? I'm leaning towards Murphy right now. And Wood or Mbumo to captain Mbumo. YB Bag puts his squad bench boost or triple captain. I would probably triple captain and bench boost next week because Pickford and Sells look really solid there. And I think the fixtures in general for your players look better in 37. I think both is viable, and you might even want to use a chip in 38, but I would bench boost in 37. That would be my recommendation. Then it's up to you if you triple captain now or in 38. Baraf says Eze to KDB for a -8. I'd go for it. Yeah. I went for 3-1 Liverpool, but I said before, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal went there and got a 1-1 draw. They are unbeaten against the so-called Big Six in the last 2 years in Premier League matches, and there's a good reason for that. Arsenal are a tough team to beat, but they have lost 3 games in a row, and things aren't looking so rosy right now, of course. But I think Liverpool will win this game at Anfield, and that's something I felt even if there was something on the line, actually. Murphy to Sharda or Roll? I like Sharda this week on paper. I just don't like his consistency. He has blanked in 26 league games, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely, it's over 20. So he can be very frustrating. My favourite way of covering Brentford is going for Mbuma and Vissa. And if you want that defender, I'd recommend Coyote at the moment. But yeah, Sharda's not bad. One forward to sell. It'd be Mateta, Pratik. Now, we could find out in the next hour that Marmoush is benched. That is a possibility. But until then, I'd recommend selling Mateta first. It is team dependent, Patrick, but I just mentioned to someone else there, I'd recommend in 37, especially for those with Sells and Pickford, for example, and those sorts of combinations, which could work very well. Likewise, Safir, hopefully you're doing well. Any news on KDB? No news, to be honest. There's nothing really to report. In terms of is he going to start or not, I can't really tell you. I think he will, but there is no inside information, unfortunately. Yeah, Dogbead win. Elanga looks better than Rodgers this week. I would start him. Hey, mate, I'm chasing the rank. We'll probably do Eze to KDB and captain him. I'm not against that, and KDB is second in my captaincy list, only behind Mbumo, but you could certainly change that to your liking. Joe says Isak and Murphy to Vissa and KDB for a -4, or just do Mateta to Vissa for free. I take the hit. And that's something I was also looking at myself, but I'd also need to make a defender transfer to fund the KDB move. So, yeah, it's a good question. I would go for the hit. Thank you, Basuno, and good luck for the rest of Gameweek 36. Toasty says, or Toasty, should I take a -4 to swap Isak for Vissa? I wouldn't sell Isak. Personally, not for a hit. If that's your way of funding De Bruyne, I understand. And I'd probably say yes, but I'm not particularly enthused about it. All right, let's see if I can quickly amend just one of the graphics and make sure that we got the correct information there. It's just the 20th place, the least likely to keep a clean sheet for game week 36. So, yeah, Southampton, they're bottom, 8% chance. Let's see if I can bring that up as well. So just give me a minute or so. I'll be very quick. Then I'll go back to your questions and then show some different graphics or the same ones one more time and just amending any small errors or stuff like that. So here we go. Let's put Southampton. Okay, that's all good. Let's just get their over 2 goals odds. Let's see. So yeah, Southampton have a 8% chance of scoring over 2 goals according to DraftHound. So let's see. Hopefully this doesn't cause any crashes, but yeah, that is now updated. And let's see. Okay, yeah, that's done now. I'm just going to get a different version just in case. And yeah, I'm just going to show you now the odds, the top 10 captains, and all of that stuff in just a minute. Okay, that should all be sorted. Okay, yeah, it's all good here. And there we go. All right, let's now go to those graphics and yeah, let's go to this one first. So just for those that aren't aware, and obviously some people have asked about what was a certain prediction like Liverpool-Arsenal, you can see them on screen. There are a few I'm a bit unsure about, but yeah, we can refer back to this by the end of the deadline, which is in just under an hour's time. Actually, no, you idiot. It's 1 hour, 30 minutes left until the deadline. Ipswich Town is the highlighted team with their weakness in central areas, and I think none other than Visser can fully capitalise on that. He got 10 points in the reverse fixture, a 4-3 win for Brentford, and I think he's got a great chance of doing well. That's why he ranks very highly in the captaincy list, but with the clean sheet odds and all of that, okay, thankfully it did actually amend itself here. So Southampton are the team that are bottom, facing Man City at home. Only an 8% chance of a clean sheet and 8% chance of scoring over 2 goals. Forest, City, Fulham, United, Brentford and Liverpool complete the top 6. And these are ranked in terms of clean sheet odds. But if you combine that and the over 2 goals percentages, Man City are the standout team in Gameweek 36 here. And the last thing will be this captaincy list, which is, you know, one of the popular questions, I think, of recent streams and a great way of making up the ranks and winning mini leagues. So I have put Mbumo top, De Bruyne is second, Visser third. I've put Haaland in fourth, which might be a little bit too high, and I might be overestimating his minutes. But based on my predictions, I've put Haaland in fourth. Salah is fifth. Chris Wood, Cunha, Isak, Marmoush, and Palmer complete the top 10. And if the Egyptian starts, then I think Marmoush does go significantly higher in this ranking. But let me know your thoughts in the live chat. Which forward are you prioritizing to buy this week? And which other transfers are you looking to make? And I'll let this play out whilst I read some questions. You won't see the messages pop out on screen, not at least for now, but they will do very soon. So yeah, let's get to 200 likes. We are obviously getting closer to that. Thank you to those that have shown support to the channel. And we did hit 33,000 subscribers in the last deadline stream for UCL Fantasy. OK says, hey Dylan, I already have Mbumo. Would you do Mateta to Visser or cover another team and get Wood or Cunha? I still like Visser a lot, to be fair. The only thing that puts me off him a little bit is the fact that so many people are buying him. But there is a good reason for it, and he has been so consistent recently, and Ipswich Town have been shocking defensively in recent weeks. The way I'd rank it is Visser first, Cunha second, and Chris Wood third. But it is a very close call there. And you did see the captaincy rankings just a minute or two ago, probably just after you asked that question. So that also gives you an insight into how I feel about those players this week. But it's not just about 36, it's also about 37 and 38. And I think Chris Wood would rank bottom out of those 3 players. Yeah, no news on Haaland starting, I'm afraid. The same goes for any Man City player. We might get something in the next hour or so, but I can't guarantee it. Goldhead says 34, 30 points behind mid-league rival Mateta to Vissa / Wood, and either Raya to Sell / Flecken or Sa to Shada Elanga would be a -4. So don't get me wrong, I'd love to do Raya to Sells. You know, that's a great transfer on paper, but for a hit, not for me. So my favourite is Mateta to Vissa. And you could even actually add Cunha in there, if you wish. Chris Wood is absolutely fine, of course. His form hasn't been great. But yeah, that is my favourite transfer. Then it'd be the midfielder one, and I'd do Sa to Elanga. So maybe you do 2 of those transfers for a -4, or maybe that's a -8 hit if you do both of them. But yeah, I think the goalkeeper move is something I'd try to avoid, even though Rye will probably blank. It's just, if Sells gets a clean sheet, you're looking at 6-7 points. You're not really gaining too much. I think the reward doesn't really justify the risk with a hit for a goalkeeper. Welcome, John, and good day to you as well. The Dreamer's Canvas says, choose one, please. 1, Mateta to Vissa. 2, Murphy plus Mateta to Bowen and Vissa. I'd stick with number 1 for now, but I don't think buying Bowen is a bad idea, particularly in Gameweek 37 or 38, but I think West Ham might fail to score against United. I've gone for a 1-0 United win. Bowen or Murphy, says Mohammed. This week it's really close, actually. I'd still favour Bowen just about, but that's because of his consistency, and Murphy's record against Chelsea in general is quite poor. Only 1 goal, and that came at Stamford Bridge last season. Ezra says Marmoush to Vissa, Murphy to Elanga, Livramento to Gvardiol for a -8. I'd probably stick with a -4 and keep Livramento. Fedani says, hi Dylan, start Rodgers or Murphy? Murphy for me, but it's really close. I might even backtrack on that one, to be fair. ZX Trenix says, hello Dylan, play Kirkes or Kanate and play Areola or Raya. I would play Kirkes, and I think Areola has a better chance of a clean sheet, to be fair. Yeah. Kirkes and Areola. Even Marmoush is benched, he can score a goal. Yeah, he could. He did it in the FA Cup, of course, replacing the injured Erling Haaland at the time. He scored the winner against Bournemouth, so yeah. The same applies to Haaland as well, which is why both of them are in the top 10 list. 8 Nuri or double Forest defence? In terms of clean sheet odds, I think the double Forest defence is the best play, but the big appeal about 8 Nuri is the goals, the assists, the different routes to points. So, looking as well to Gameweek 37 and 38, my advice would be 8 Nuri. And he scored against Brighton in the reverse fixture, which ended in a 2-2 draw. I believe Wolves were 2-0 down, and 8 Nuri scored the first of 2 goals to really spark that comeback. Sam puts his team. So, let's see the context here. Pep, Ortega to Sells, Timber to Gvardiol. Oh, plus Pep. So Ortega to Sells, Timber to Gvardiol, Vissa to Isak, Marmoush for a -8. Yeah, I think buying Vissa is a good play, but unless we get information that Marmoush is benched, I'm not sure I'd like to take a hit for it. I mean, it's risky either way, and I don't recommend selling Isak for a hit. But the other moves are great, even though it involves a goalkeeper, and I'm not entirely sure that it's worth a hit. You know, Ortega's not playing for you. Alisson against Arsenal at home, you could just start him, to be fair, and avoid the hit for Sells. But I would do Timber to Gvardiol if you can, and yeah, if Marmoush is benched, buy Vissa or Cunha for a -4. I'm not sure about the goalkeeper transfer though. Is Cunha the player who's outperformed his XG by the biggest margin in FPL? I believe so, yeah. There has been a lot of talk about Chris Wood overperforming. You know, he's had a decent amount of big chances, but the XG isn't that great in general, but he still has significantly more than Cunha, who has 7. 7 for the season, but he has been absolutely consistent and prolific in front of goal. So I'm going to go back to my FPL team, since obviously I showed you the injury updates once more for the last couple of minutes there. And I'll probably take one more look at all the graphics, which includes the FDR as well, using different websites as well. But we do have just over an hour left until the deadline. So let's be sure to lock in our teams and make sure that we have everything sorted. I might make a transfer now and sell Mateta to Vissa. I am very tempted by Cunha, to be honest, and that's a reason why I've kind of delayed making any moves up until now. But I'm going to end this poll, which has been going on for quite a while, with over 500 votes. Vissa has almost half of them with 49%. Chris Wood is second, and Cunha is third, which I'm quite surprised by, but he does have the most difficult fixture on paper. So let's end that poll there. And I'm going to put some polls related to my transfer plans, which also will inform those that are tuning in a little bit later and who didn't see my talks yesterday or 2 days ago for the team selection video and also throughout this stream. So these are my transfer plans. That's all I'm going to say in the poll. Vote for your favorite set of moves. So let's do YouTube are a bit finicky with the character limit. Let me just go through the chat messages. So yeah, there's a few members in here who have said something. So Mahuri says, hi Dylan, I own Murphy and Iwobi. I'm planning to do Murphy to KDB. Should I do Iwobi to Elanga for a -4? I'd probably do it, to be fair. Elanga has a high ceiling, and I think it is worth the risk facing one of the worst teams in the league. Is Sells not usually in the BPS when they get a clean sheet? Yes, in a narrow victory, that is the case. I'm going for a 2-0 Forest win. And it all depends on the context, because if he doesn't have to make a save, he's not going to get bonus points, let's put it that way. But if he's a little bit busy, but Forest keep the clean sheet, then of course the ceiling is quite high for a goalkeeper. I just don't think it's really worth a hit in a lot of cases for a goalkeeper move with only 3 game weeks left of the season. If Sells also had Southampton in the next 3, I'd be like, you know what, just go for it. But against West Ham and Chelsea over the next 3, I'm not entirely sure Forest keep clean sheets in both of them. But this week, yeah, I'm going for a 2-0 Forest win. It's not guaranteed, but there you go. OK says, would you do Livramento to Milenkovic for a -4? Probably not for a hit. That's the way I kind of feel about it at the moment. If you feel differently, then back your gut, but I'm not entirely sure about that sort of hit. Thank you as well, Trenix. And just to put it into context, by the way, because you might be thinking, well, didn't you talk about Saliba to Aina or a Forest defender? So why the hell are you telling me not to do a -4 here? The reason why I'm considering that move in the first place, apart from getting a cheeky clean sheet if possible, is to fund De Bruyne in the midfield. Otherwise, I'd try to avoid that if possible. Just start Livramento, Munoz, and Gvardiol and stick with that. And I might end up doing that, to be fair, but it isn't that simple sometimes. Afternoon Twisted. If Marmoush is benched, would you consider Cunha? He'll be brought in, I think. It's probably going to be Cunha and Vissa to replace Marmoush and Mateta, if that's the case. I'm not ruling out Chris Wood, to be fair. He has been very good for me this season. But, yeah, that is the plan. Lovro says, hey Dylan, I'm leading 20 points in my mini-league. Would you rather go Sarr to Elanga or Mateta to Wood or Vissa? It's a good question. I think both of them are viable. My preference, though, is Mateta to Vissa. It's also a bit of a template pick. It protects your rank and your mini-league ranking, I think. But that's my favourite, Mateta to Vissa there. And I wouldn't rule out Mateus Cunha either. You could risk the Vissa transfer. You won't gain. Loads are getting him. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, that is putting me off a little bit in terms of so many people buying him, which is a shame, but doesn't really surprise anybody. Thank you, John Paul. Keep up the good work, Dylan. Elanga and KDB for Murphy and Eze for a -4. Yes. And don't get me wrong, Murphy and Eze are good FPL assets, but I think it's worth the hit. And thank you very much for the kind words. Basuno says, Dylan, new 4. What do you think of Mateta to Cunha and Sarr to Sharda for a -4? I'm on board with it, to be fair. I'm not a massive fan of Sharda, but against Ipswich Town, it's worth a punt, and you're covering that Brentford attack in a differential way, whilst also going for Cunha, who has scored or assisted against his upcoming opponents, and I think he's got a very high ceiling with the BPS and the bonus points. So, yep, I think that's absolutely fine. So let's do this poll and then catch up with the other questions. Let's see if I can actually fit it into the character limit. YouTube can be a bit jarring at times. So let's say Saliba, Sarr, and Mateta. Yeah, I just don't have enough. Let's see if I have to do that. Let's go for, let's say Aina, KDB. Fucking hell. Vissa. Yeah, look, I don't even have enough characters for this crap. I'm trying to think what I can do to actually fit it in, but I just don't think it's possible. Yeah, it's kind of jarring. I'm literally -1 away. What the hell? Okay, that will work, but it just doesn't look great. I can't even space things out. All right, so let's do something similar, and then let's see. Only... Okay, so let's see what else. Just do Meteta to Visa. Yeah, in terms of the money in the bank as well, 2.8 million. Yeah, it's not great. I'm just gonna stick with maybe these ones. So SAR to... Not really sure if that's even worth it, the SAR one. Yeah, forget that one. Let's put Saliba to Aina. 2 of those moves for a -4 hit. So it's not going to be the best poll, maybe the most clear, but unfortunately YouTube are a bit jarring sometimes with these polls and the character limits and all that jazz. Can I actually... Yeah, there you go, start the poll. So that is my transfer plan. So hopefully it makes things clear to everyone watching, as clear as possible. Thank you, Paredes, for being a member for an entire month and also for gifting so many in the recent streams. Rogers, Vissa, or Roll? Oh, it would be Vissa. Vissa should be the priority transfer, in my opinion. But if you want to go a little bit different to the crowd, then I certainly wouldn't mind Acuna or Chris Wood. But that forward transfer is what I'm kind of prioritizing at the moment, to be fair. Is Watkins likely to score? I mean, I thought he was last week, and he has a good record against Fulham. Ended up blanking on that particular occasion. Yeah, I think Watkins has a good chance of scoring. Not the most likely of any player, but he would still be in a top 10 list, I believe. 8 Nuri or Sessegnon? It's close. I would favour 8 Nuri, especially for the next 3 game weeks. Julie says, hi Dylan, I'm doing wildcard this week and bench boost next. I need a midfielder for next week only. Who would you recommend? I've currently got Salah, De Bruyne, Mbumo, Shada. Thinking Palmer. Yeah, Palmer's a good option, to be fair. I have covered different options in my wildcard video yesterday, and I do talk about the bench boost in 37, so that could really help you actually with a few picks, not just in that position. But yeah, I think Palmer's a good one. I like that. If you can afford him, De Bruyne and Salah simultaneously, that is a differential, in my opinion, having all 3 of them at the same time. Aaron Rowney says play Elanga/Bowen or Shada. Elanga, then Shada, and Bowen would be last this week. Areola Benjamin. I wouldn't start Raya if possible. Start Munoz or Kirkes. Munoz. Nah, I think Kirkes. I'm going to stick with Kirkes, which I said before. That's a close one. I think both of them concede. So then it comes down to attacking threat. Strabon says, I have triple captain. Yeah, Mbumo's fine as a triple captain option this week. De Bruyne, Vissa, they're the standouts. But if I still had the chip, and I can only speak for myself, I'd probably use it in 38, which typically is a high-scoring week in terms of you get these outlandish scores, a lot of attacking play, and the pressure is off in a lot of these matches. Not all, though. Dala Hassan says, hey, Dylan, I'm thinking of doing Isak to Wood, Sarr to Mbumo. I'm second in the mini-league with triple captaincy left. Yeah, good transfers overall. I'm just a bit concerned about selling Isak, but I do understand your play. I really do. If you also have Marmoush, I would maybe urge you to wait a little bit. I'm not saying wait until the last second of the deadline. I'd never recommend that. But maybe until, let's say, 1 p.m. So half an hour more, see if we get any information, which is unlikely. But if we get that kind of info of Marmoush being benched, you might want to sell him and keep Isak instead. Path says, hi Dylan, a few more game weeks to go. Have a great week and thanks a lot for all the help this season. You've been the best FPL creator for me. Everyone hit the like and subscribe icon now. Thank you very much, Path. Very kind words from you, and yeah, I can't lie. I'm kind of looking forward to it, and also building the graphics and setting things up for next season. That's what I'll be doing in the so-called time off. But yeah, it has been a blast, and still, FPL News Your Fantasy have gone maybe not the way I wanted to in terms of rank, but still having a bit of fun with it, which is the most important thing. Hopefully you are too. Omar says, hi Dylan, greetings from Texas. Mini league tied, same team except one midfielder. Would you take a -4 and do Isak to Wood and Mateta to Vissa for a -4? AM active on Guardiola since last week. Yeah, I like that. I'd probably stick with one free transfer. I know it sounds boring, but I would do Mateta to one of Vissa, Cunha, or Chris Wood and keep Isak. That's my current preference. If it was 2 free transfers, I'd possibly be on board with it. But for a hit, I'm not sure about selling Isak, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of it personally. It is a differential play, and it could actually pay off for you. So back a gut on that one. But my feeling on it is I'd stick with a free transfer and keep Isak. Yeah, like I said, Vishal, just now, I'd probably triple captain, let's say someone like Salah in 38 against Crystal Palace at home. You've got other options there as well. You might want to go for Saka away to Southampton. But yeah, and Mbeumo's a good option this week, don't get me wrong. I'm not against it. But for those that are asking, no team leaks as far as I'm aware. If you do see anything, let me know. Put a link in the live chat and we can go through it. Start Saul Murphy, probably Murphy. Did you ever consider selling Isak and bringing in KDB on a -4? Yes, and I'm not completely against that. It's just, I'll be honest, I'd still end up taking a -8 in my opinion because I'd want to sell Mateta as well. I think over the next 3 game weeks he's benched at least once, and it's a good excuse and opportunity to get the likes of Cunha and Vissa in my team. Murphy or Rodgers for Elanga or Roll? I take the punt on Elanga, and I'd probably sell Murphy out of the 2. In my other mini leagues, I'm not necessarily chasing, to be fair. No. But of course, I still want to push on and try to do as well as possible and break into the top 100k. So from that perspective, I am kind of chasing a little bit. Start Savio over Saka. Do you think you'll start? I never know of Savio. That's the unfortunate truth of it. But yeah, this week I'd probably take a punt on Savio. But in 37 and 38, I'd still start Saka. Thank you, Hassan. I appreciate it. Likewise, Alex. I hope you're well too. 8 Nuri for me, Sam. Mina says, hey Dylan, I have Flecken, Pickford, Milenkovic, Munoz, Gavardio, Kirkes, 8 Nuri, Sarr, KDB and Mbumo, Salah, Murphy, Isak, Vissa and Marmoush. Do I bench boost in 36 or 37 or maybe in 38? It's a good one. A good question. Possibly 37, and it gives you a little bit more time to make extra transfers and set your team up well for that bench boost. But yeah, it's a good question. And I think with your team, it's a bit different to others where I think theirs is kind of locked in, I think, for a 37 bench boost with Sells and Pickford, for example, as their goalkeepers. Yeah, I think I wouldn't use them 38, I believe. I think 36 or 37, I would lean towards 37, but it's close in your situation. Yeah, Vishal, all covered. Refer back to my previous answer. Yeah, triple captain this week is fine. I think Mbeumo's a template, solid pick. You've got De Bruyne and Vissa. I said this before, though. If I had the chip still, I'd probably use it in 38. Thank you, Omar, and good luck to you as well. Yep, I agree. Saliba's good for Gameweek 38. I think a lot of transfer plans depend on Marmoush benching, hoping the site doesn't crash, if that is the case. Yeah, I think it's possible that the site does crash if we get that sort of news. It has been a while since we got these kind of team leaks about an important FPL asset. If Haaland starts, what do you think of Marmoush, Mateta, Salah to Haaland, Vissa, Palmer? I'm not going to lie, I do like the look of it. Like, the only thing I dislike is Salah being sold, because I think he's going to do well this week. But yeah, I do like the transfers in, I have to say that. I think Haaland's minutes will be managed even if he starts, and I think he'll be subbed off early. But it is a good set of transfers, and it's a differential play. And I have to say I'm on board with it. Path says, hi, I got Vissa and Boom and Wood. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is show different graphics, but basically the one I favor is Mbuma for the captaincy. Not by much though. I don't think it's a particular standout. But let's go to all the screens quickly, since I have gone through them before. Ipswich Town, Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves and Fulham are the top 5 teams in terms of the FDR. Brighton, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Chelsea and Aston Villa are in the bottom 5 of this fixture difficulty rating. Salah is top of predicted points according to Fantasy Football Hub. Isak, De Bruyne, Cunha, Saka, Wissa, Marmoush, Wood, Mbeumo and Palmer complete the top 10. With assistant managers, Postecoglou, Amrim, Guardiola, Arteta and Potter are the most favoured. My favourite is going to be Pep Guardiola. With potential price changes, we could see Murphy, Sarr, Beto, Szoboszlai, Trossard, Kelleher, Taylor, Gabriel, Cliver, Hill, Quansah, Robinson, Bruno Guimaraes, Raya, Marino and Isak all go down, whilst Mbeumo, Gvardiol, Flecken, Aina and Chris Wood could go up. Let's see if anything has changed. Yeah, so Haaland and De Bruyne could go up in price tonight, apparently. So there have been a few changes to the price algorithm. Mateta is also projected to go down, if I didn't say him before. So I did compare the stats earlier of Cunha and Wissa. So in terms of creativity, Cunha does win this hands down. The same goes for bonus points. But what Wissa has is the goal scoring potential and the sustainable numbers. 31 big chances to Cunha's 7. But it hasn't stopped the Brazilian from scoring 15 goals and getting 7 assists this season. So 22 goal contributions, the exact same as Wissa in few appearances. And now FPL.team to show you a visualization of my squad if I bring in the likes of Aina, it could be Nico Williams, De Bruyne, and also Wissa. So that would mean Mateta making way, also selling Sarr and Saliba, and it gives me 1 million in the bank. For Gameweek 37, I could have this sort of starting lineup. I'd put Murphy on the bench, I think, for Rodgers. And I think the rest speaks for itself. It's probably going to be like that. And then Gameweek 38, I've also got a decent platform. Of course, selling Saliba now in 36, it gives me the funds to buy Kevin De Bruyne. But at the same time, it does deprive me of an Arsenal asset in Gameweek 38 against Southampton away, which might be quite appealing, actually. Not many people will have a triple up or 2 Arsenal players. I could get to Saka quite easily, to be fair. Maybe De Bruyne to Saka is the way to go. But there's a few things I think that are very touch and go, and nothing is certain, I think. So, yeah, a lot of things to do. I wish I had another wildcard, to be fair. And it has done fairly well up until basically Gameweek 34. But yeah, Gameweek 35 was a disaster for me. Good luck as well, William Pritchard. CAV says, have Areola and Raya. Would you swap to Souls for free? Yes, I would. Ideally, I'd sell Areola. Man City X account have put a Marmoush poster with the afternoon fixture. I don't look too much into it nowadays because I've seen countless examples, not necessarily from Man City, but from other clubs where a player posts something on their story, or maybe they put the player on their poster and they don't start the game. Hassan says, who would you say is the best differential for goalkeeper, defender, midfielder and forward? Yeah, that's a good question. I think up front, I mean, Chris was not a differential. And neither's Cunha, to be fair. So Cunha's ownership is currently 14.8%. I think Chris Wood's is similar. No, significantly higher. Still 30.7%. Jesus Christ. I thought it was a little bit lower. Vista 20.7. Yeah, I think up front, if you really want a differential, I mean, buying Haaland is a differential play. It's risky. 22.8% ownership, though. I think Watkins would stand out. If not, Evanilson. Yeah, Evanilson's the best differential. If you're talking about pure differentials, lower than 5% ownership or less than 10%, I would probably say Evanilson is my favourite there. In terms of the midfield, that is a good question. I mean, De Bruyne still has low ownership, relatively speaking, 9.6% at the moment. Elanga, I think this week would look very appealing. So one of those two players. In that defensive position, Nico Williams would be my pick. And in goal, kind of tough to get a differential per se, but I would probably suggest... I was considering Jose Sa actually for this answer. His ownership is actually 3%, so that might interest you, to be fair. I'm not a big fan of Flecken. I mean, his ownership isn't that bad. I mean, compared to Sells, he is a differential with less than half of his ownership, but yeah, it's probably going to be Jose Sa for me. I think 1, maybe 2 clean sheets from the next 3 game weeks is possible. So that would be something that springs to mind. Do you maybe chance it on Edison? Facing Southampton away this week as well, another differential for you, but I've listed 2 players in each position there that can help you in your quest for differentials. Just the Parkipus's predictions. Liverpool 1-1, interesting. I was considering that, but I've gone for 3-1. Not that it matters if I jinx them or not. I really don't care at this point. 4-0 Man City, yeah. 1-1 in the Fulham game. 3-1 Brentford, yeah. If you had one of the 3 remaining, which would you use this game week? Bench boost, wildcard, triple captain. Wildcard now, bench boost 37, triple captain 38. Saliba, Kanate out for Forest defender. In. Sar, Rogers out, Forest midfielder in. Yeah, I'd do it. So Elanga and, let's say, Milenkovic. If not, you might want to go Nico Williams. Massive differential overall. Yash says, hey Dylan, hope you're well. I have my triple captain and assistant manager chips pending. Yeah, so I hate to break it to you, but basically because you've left it very late, you cannot use both of them now. I mean, you technically could. You can use the triple captain now and assistant manager in 37, but instead of 3 game weeks from the assistant manager, you only get 2 game weeks. So if you decide to prioritize the assistant manager and use it now, that means you can't use the triple captaincy this season. So I think your best play now in your situation is to use the triple captaincy on, let's say, Mbumo, Vissa, De Bruyne in 36, and use the assistant manager in 37. Steven says, I think Mateta will haul against Spurs, and Leicester wanted to do everything for a result on their own field against Forest. Maybe you're right. I mean, Mateta scored the winning goal against Spurs earlier this season. Selling him could be a mistake. I will not be surprised considering how my season has gone. But yeah, it's a tough one this week. I don't think there are many standout transfers in terms of those you want to sell, per se. Like, it could be a 50-50 call. Do you sell Rodgers, Murphy, or Sarr? Do you sell Mateta, Marmoush, or do you just sell Isak? Nothing's clear-cut, in my opinion. Possibly Safair. Not a guarantee, though. I'll be honest, I've kind of lost interest in the Premier League for quite some time. But, yeah, it's a possibility. Maybe just to kind of hope for some FPL returns. Parik says, will Haaland start? Thinking Marmoush to either Haaland or Vissa this game week. I think Haaland starts, but it's not a guarantee. Now, if he does, it doesn't mean that Marmoush will necessarily be benched. It's the most likely scenario, but in recent games, the Egyptian has been playing on the right-hand side. My preference would be Vissa to buy in, but he is template, unfortunately. John K88 says, hi Dylan, bench Bowen or Sarr? It's close this week, I won't lie to you. My main concern with Sarr is the minutes. But I would probably bench, I think, Sarr this week, yeah. Yeah, Shada's a differential. I'm not a massive fan, but this week it's a decent time to buy him. He has a high ceiling, differential. I can see why people are going there. Aranya puts a super chat saying, my 15, Raya, Areola, Munoz, Konsa, Diaz, Kivior, Kanate, Saka, Salah, Rogers, Sarr, O'Reilly, Marmoush, Mateta, Watkins. Free transfers, 0.6 million in the bank. Plan is Watkins, Saka, O'Reilly to Vissa and Boomer KDB. I can't really argue against that, to be fair. I think that looks really solid. You might even want to consider Cunha instead of Vissa to go a little bit differential. I mean, the ownership difference is 6% at the moment. It might even be higher than that in an hour's time. But yeah, I'll be honest, I think those transfers are really solid. I don't see myself recommending anything else on top of it. I mean, could you take a -4 here and go a little bit aggressive? You could. For example, if Marmoush is benched, you might want to sell him to Cunha on top of what you've just said there. Thank you, Yash. Mateta or Vissa? I prefer Vissa right now. It's not to say that Mateta's a terrible asset and you have to sell him, but I just think Cunha, Vissa, and these other options are more enticing now. Would you bench boost with Nico Williams, Sarr, and Konsa? Possibly, yeah, Ratchet. I'm just not sure who your goalkeeper is and how your team looks like for 37 because I don't know your 50-man squad. But based on what you've said, it's a solid bench. Mahuri says Murphy to KDB and Iwobi to Elanga for a -4. Or should I take a -4 next week to do Marmoush to Watkins and Salah to Palmer? Probably not for me. I think for 37, Palmer might be a great option against Man United, but yeah, I think a -4 this week by Elanga and KDB there, Mahuri. Yeah, triple captain De Bruyne is really enticing this week. There is a slight question mark about his minutes. Does he start the game? And if he does, when does he get subbed off? But I think he will start at least 2 of the next 3 Premier League games, possibly even all 3. No news on Haaland, mate. Once I get that information, I'll tell you. And if anyone sees it on Twitter from a reliable source, put it in the live chat with a link and we can go through it. Thank you, Safir. Massively appreciate as always. Murillo in for Timber. Well, Murillo is a slight doubt, which I covered in the injury updates and team news section earlier. So I get your plan there. I would probably go against it, though. I think Timber, for example, could be useful against Southampton away in Gameweek 38. And yeah, I'm just not a big fan of taking a hit for a defender, even though Forest have a good chance of a clean sheet now. If Haaland and Marmoush start, is Marmoush out worth it? Well, he becomes less appealing, but against Southampton, I mean, I still think Marmoush can score from that right-hand side, but it is true that he has been less threatening from that position. There's no doubt about it. If it's on the right, that's Southampton's weakest side, isn't it? Or is it the other side? To be honest, every side is Southampton's weakest side. Sorry to say that. But they do concede a lot of chances in central areas and on the right. So I'll be honest, I think if Marmoush starts, I'd just keep him and not risk selling him. Azaro12 says, sell Cliver or Sarr for De Bruyne. I'd sell Sarr. Yeah, I agree, Easy. And I did cover your question earlier, or your message. Sienna Marie says, got bench boost and triple captain left. Different ways you can play it, even though you've only got 3 game weeks left. But my preference would be bench boost 37 and triple captain 38, actually. Bench Saka or Munoz? I'd still bench Munoz. VE Portfolio says, hi boss, I have 1 transfer. What about Marmoush to Vissa, Isak to Wood for a -4? In my personal opinion, I wouldn't sell Isak for a hit. The other transfer's fine though. Keeper to replace Pickford? Not sure about that, mate. I know Everton have been poor defensively since David Moyes has taken over, but he does face Southampton next week. So unless you're going to sells now, which looks fine, I mean, that's not a bad transfer, I'm not sure if I'd make many goalkeeper moves to replace Pickford. My favourite Forest defender is Milenkovic. If I were to bring a second one in, which you can see in the poll, yeah, I guess Aina's fine. What does tell me about Nico Williams is the low ownership. So I might end up going for him, a bit extra in the bank to spend. That could come in handy for Gameweek 38, for example. But basically, Milenkovic is my favourite. Quinn Anders says, 8-point hit to bring in Vissa, Wood and De Bruyne. Sell Sarr or Murphy for De Bruyne. I'm in the same boat as you, basically. I'd rather sell Sarr right now. Sell 2 out of Marmoush, Isak or Mateta for Vissa and Wood. It would be Mateta and Marmoush if he's benched. Otherwise, I'd just sell Mateta and go to Vissa there. Start Rodgers or Marino? Rodgers. Triple captain De Bruyne is fine, as I mentioned before. Welcome, Bernardo Martins. Hello, Dylan. Hope you're well. So, team. 1 free transfer, 3 million in the bank. Wood for Isak and KDB for Saar -4. I'd lean towards yes. I'm just a little bit hesitant about selling Isak for a hit. Thank you as well to Adiotti. Isak or Salah captain? Salah does rank higher for me. He's 5th in my list, and Isak, I believe, is 9th. I'll go through that list one more time. Start Pope or Henderson? Pope. The guy first place in my mini league, 36 points clear, has Isak, Marmoush, and Visser. I have Isak, Marmoush, and Mateta. Yeah, I get that. You want to go a little bit different. But you can also do something like Mateta to Visser and then also buy Cunha for one of your other forwards. But yeah, it's a good plan. I think from your perspective, going to Chris would make sense. But I'd also encourage you to consider Matthias Cunha as well. Hi, I'm 85k rank, says Payman Armin. 21 points from 50k goal. Salah, Isak, Mateta to KDB, Visser, and Cunha -8. Or Saliba, Saar, Mateta to Milenkovic, KDB, Cunha, also for a -8 hit. Or something else. I would rather do these second set of transfers and keeping Salah. So buying Milenkovic, KDB, and Cunha for Saliba, Saar, and Mateta. That is my favourite. Thank you as well to Lager for moderating the chat. I would start... I've said Murphy all stream to be fair, but I'm very unsure about that one. I do prefer Rodgers over the next 3 game weeks overall, but for this week specifically, I'd slightly prefer Murphy, but I could see myself regretting that. Really close one. Thank you for answering my question. Honestly, Dylan, in your situation, if you can afford to bring in KDB and Visser, then it's fine to just bench Saliba this game week and just take a -4 hit. Yeah, and I'll be honest, if I could do it, then let's say sell Mateta and any of those 3 budget midfielders, I'd be on board. The problem is, I can't afford it without selling someone like Saliba to Aina, and that's where the extra hit comes into play. Otherwise, I'd probably just take that -4 hit, buy De Bruyne and Visser, and hope for the best. So let's actually go back to my FPL team and showcase this very quickly. So let's say I sell Saar and keep Murphy. That helps a little bit with money. So let's go to De Bruyne. Let's also sell Mateta. I mean, you might just argue sell Isak instead. I get that. So let's go to Visser here, who is now 6.8 million. As you can see, I am 0.3 million over budget. So that is where the problem lies. I mean, could you just say sell Salah? It is a possibility, but I'm not really that infused about it. I'm not a big fan of it. So yeah, I think the simplest way to do it is to sell Isak, keep Mateta, and go a little bit differential that way. If you look at Mateta's ownership, it's 11.1% now. It's not maybe the worst thing in the world, but I'd rather have Isak, to be honest. Maybe in my case, it's worth going against the template, selling the 60% owned Isak and preventing that -8 hit. So it's interesting how things are going to pan out. So thank you to the people who are still watching the stream. Let's get this to 200 plus likes and end this season very strongly. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. We are pushing towards new goals now after recently reaching 33,000 subscribers. There are many links in the description: Spotify, Patreon, the championships, Discord server, FPL League, all of that can be found there. Very easy to join every single one of those platforms. The same goes for the Discord server, a great community to be a part of. All your questions are answered there, and we can also help each other build the best team possible. So, let's see. I'm going to have a quick look actually at Mateta's record versus Spurs and see if that actually maybe pushes me towards keeping him. I know he scored earlier this season against them, but at their ground, I don't think his record is particularly great. So Mateta has only scored 1 goal in 6 games against Spurs. And yes, I know Spurs were better in previous seasons, but it's not particularly great, is it? Yeah, I mean, you can't base everything off a record that a player has against a certain team, but I like using that as part of my thinking with transfers, with captaincy decisions and other stuff. My gut feeling is with Mateta, says Paredes. You might be right. You might be right. In a week where a lot of people are selling, it'd be typical for him to do well. Bench Rodgers or Bowen? I'd rather bench Bowen, I think. Which might sound crazy, to be fair. I'm not backing West Ham to do very well here. Do you think Fernandes will start? Yes. But over the next 3 game weeks in FPL, he's not someone you can rely on with minutes because the main focus is that Europa League final. Nasi says, I still have my free hit. When should I use it? I have bench boost as well. Well, I don't know your squad, which makes this very difficult to answer. But if you have a good squad this week, then I'd suggest bench boosting now and free hitting 37. That could work very well for you. I don't even mind a 38 bench boost, to be fair. Yeah, I did give you a name before, mate. I said Salah, so I'm not sure how many times you're going to ask that. Start 1 this week, Iwobi or Bowen. I'd lean towards Bowen. Preston Remedios says Eze to Bowen or Mateta to Wood, 1 transfer. Mateta to Wood this week. Thoughts on Rashford and Mateta to Bowen and Visser for a -4. Good transfers in general. I'm just not a big fan of Bowen this week, per se. But you are selling Rashford, who is out. Big Sam says, I don't have enough money to follow your wildcard video. Isak for Ivanoson, number 1. / Wood. 2, Bowen for Shada. I prefer the first option. Even though going without Isak could be slightly, well, it is a risk. But if you are chasing, I think that is the way I'd go. Captain, probably Mbeumo for me. I'm not discounting De Bruyne, who could be brought in the next half an hour, but I'm still finalising my transfers. Possibly wasting. I still think Saka's good against Newcastle and Southampton away, but this week I'm kind of cold on Saka. For Palace, Man City still Champions League qualification, Palace all in on the cup. Well, exactly that, and that's why I'm quite open to taking a hit, multiple hits in fact, to sell Sarr and Mateta. Rotation for the cup pissed me off a bit, I get that, and that's a good point. You can end with a brace in their stadium. Yeah, I get that. It's a close call, I think, but I'm just not sure about Mateta's minutes. Easy says, I think Nketiah will start ahead of Mateta. It is possible. Yeah, I'm just checking Twitter, and I don't see any news, since a lot of people have been asking, is there any news on Man City? There's nothing so far, from what I've seen. Who is your favourite between Wood, Visser, Cunha? Well, I have said Visser all week. What does put me off him is the high ownership, the massive transfers in. He has scored in 4 consecutive games. Could he make it 5? I mean, he definitely can. I don't know, there's just something in the back of my mind that makes me think, you know what? I'm very tempted by Cunha instead, for example. But my ranking all week has been Visser, Cunha, and Chris Wood. There's not much in it, I think. Rodgers to Elanga for free or roll? I'd make the transfer and take the punt. Thinking of Saka to De Bruyne? Yes is my answer. I just think Saka is still a good option for the last 2 game weeks. For a -4 hit, yeah, if it gives you Visser and Mbeumo, fair enough, but probably, yeah, I'd go for it. Will Dean start this game week? I'd transfer him out anyway. I just don't like Luka Dean as an option. I also don't think that Aston Villa will keep clean sheets, so I'd sell him. I'd go to a Forest defender or 8 Nuri. Murphy or Mateta to start? I'd lean towards Mateta, but I'm probably going to sell him in the end. Shada or Bowen? Shada this week. Hi Dylan, I used the free hit. I personally don't back Fulham for a clean sheet, but if you wanted to go for a defender or cover them in some way, shape or form, I'd go for Sessegnon and bench Leno instead. But yeah, if that's your free hit team, I would make a few changes personally. So I'd go for Sells in goal. I mean, to be fair, you've got double Forest defense and you've got Chris Wood. So if you don't want to change that, then I'd possibly favour someone else. I mean, Everton haven't scored many goals recently, so it's not a bad pick. I just don't really back Fulham defensively to keep that clean sheet personally. So, yeah, beyond Forest, who'd you go for? Maybe you cover, well, I'd say City defensively. So you've got De Bruyne. and Gvardiol. So there is space for a third City asset. Maybe I'd go for Edison over Leno. I'd consider doing that. The rest is fine, to be fair. It's a really good team. But I'm just a bit concerned about your choice of goalkeeper. But if you are feeling it, don't listen to me. Start Rodgers or Murphy. I've said Murphy all stream. I am kind of second-guessing that, though. Yeah, I think so, Adil. I mean, it's close. I just don't really back Bowen in 36. That's just my opinion, though. I've gone for a 1-0 Man United win. I could be completely off it. De Bruyne for Saka for -4 covered. Is Sells a good option for the next 3 game weeks? Yes, but more so for this week against Leicester. Bruno to KDB for a -4. I'd chance it, yeah. Haaland in. It's a big risk. He might not even start the game. I personally think he will, but his minutes will be managed. Wei Seng says looking for Savio and Saka to KDB and Mbeumo. I like both of those transfers. I'd go for it. Thoughts on Mateus Nunes? Keep him or transfer him out for Schade, Rodgers and Semenyo? I'd transfer him out. And my favourite from those 3, for this week at least, is Schade. I'd probably keep Mateta in that case, Preston. But Chris Wood is a good option, don't get me wrong. I just think for a hit, not entirely sure. If Savio and KDB are both starting, would you still transfer out Savio for KDB? Well, it depends, because if you also have Sarr, then I'd keep Savio for 1 more week at least, and then sell Sarr. So it all depends on your team. Twisted Parky says start Verbruggen, Gvardiol, Munoz, Burn, bench Virgil, Saliba, and Raya. Yeah, I think so. I'm also starting Verbruggen over David Raya as well. Shavain puts his team. Should I roll or make a transfer like Marmoush to Vissa or Murphy to Schade? I'd only sell Marmoush if we know for sure he's benched, which we might get information on in the next 20 minutes or so. Otherwise, I'd be happy to keep Marmoush for at least 1 more week. I'm not sure, Lager. I'm not sure. Thank you, Punjabi. As he says, let's get to 200 plus likes. It'd be greatly appreciated. So Haaland does start, apparently. So thank you to Tustapaki and Basuna for letting me know. Let me check where this information came from, whether it's FPL Newsletter or somebody else. I will confirm that very shortly. And if it is FPL Newsletter, that is very reliable when it comes to Man City news. So yeah, it's FPL Newsletter who have said it. So I'll bring the tweet up on screen. And yeah, let's get this show on the road. So that's literally it. Just Haaland starts, short and sweet. Exactly what you need. But yeah, what does that mean for Marmoush? What does that mean for Marmoush and KDB? What the hell are these? Yeah, it's just everyone's asking questions. So yeah, that we're not going to get any answers in the replies, I guess. So yeah, let's see if we get any more information. I mean, I just care about Marmoush, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, it could be Marmoush on the right, which we have seen recently. But yeah, thank you to those that have pointed it out. Haaland FOMO starts now. Possibly. I mean, I did say all week, even, you know, when I saw him on the bench against Wolves in the last deadline stream, I thought he'd start. But his minutes, I think, will be managed. I don't see him playing 90. We'll see how that ages. If Mateta returns and KDB blanks, all the tinkering would be in vain. FPL can be like that at times, where you sometimes are damned if you change things in your team. So Adamak83 says, hi Dylan, playing my bench boost this week. Raya, Saliba, Cunha and Savio to Flecken, Aina, Williams, KDB and Vissa for a -8, but was thinking of a -12 with Sarr Elanga. I'd probably stick with a -8 to be fair, even though a hit in isolation from Sarr Elanga isn't a bad idea on paper. But yeah, it's a bench boost as well. I think that could work fairly decent for you. I think the -8 is justified. Now, just keep your eyes peeled for KDB because maybe he doesn't start the game. I just need Savio to start and I'll be happy, says Festus. Yeah, I'm kind of just worried about Gvardiol and Marmoush at the moment. Which assistant manager would you pick? Yeah, Guardiola for me is my favourite. Beyond that, I think it's very high risk, high reward territory, or you're going for unreliable picks like Amrim or Postecoglou. Aaron Rani says 8 Nuri, Collins, Munoz play 1. 8 Nuri for me. And I would also, I think I'd start Eze still. That is very close. De Bruyne in for Sarr for a -4, or Mateta to Vissa for free. I think I'd go for the free transfer. Hey Dylan, I need to know if there's some chance Foden starts. Well, I don't have the information at the moment. Hopefully we get more clarification on other FPL assets. I was asked before, and my gut feeling and my prediction was that Foden does start, but I couldn't be able to tell you. Does Haaland start and make KDB a worse asset or not at all? Well, he won't play in that false 9 role because Haaland will play up front, but De Bruyne can still start as an attacking midfielder, and their combination has worked very well over the years, and De Bruyne can get a lot more assists, but maybe fewer goals in the process. But yeah, as long as De Bruyne starts, I think it doesn't necessarily make KDB a worse asset. In fact, it boosts his chance of getting assists more than anything else. Take Marmoush out for Vissa. I don't think Haaland will play the full 90 as he just came out of an injury. Vissa or Haaland? Yeah, if you've got the means to go Haaland, I'd chance on him, to be fair. Yeah. My predicted lineup, Haaland striker, Doku left wing, KDB attacking midfielder, and Marmoush on the right, says easy 99. That could be an option. KDB plus Haaland pairing is... We haven't seen it too often over the last couple of years, but we have obviously seen both start. It has been very productive, especially, well, last season we saw KDB get like 4 or 5 assists, and Haaland scored, 4 or 5 goals against Luton Town, something ridiculous like that. Have a 3-point lead in my mini league, therefore who should I sell Mateta to? And do I have to take a -4 to bring in KDB for Savio? No, and it is risky either way because maybe KDB doesn't start in the end and Savio does, but I think KDB is more likely in general, and I think he's the better FPL asset. But in terms of forwards, I'd recommend one of Vissa, Cunha, or Chris Wood. And probably in that order in terms of the ranking, but Vissa is the template pick this week. KDB triple captain, I'm not against it. The only concern is, does he start or not? Crotterman says Salah and Marmoush to Haaland and Shada. Not for me. But if Marmoush is benched, then it does maybe change the scale of things, because let's not forget, the Egyptian can still start. But, of course, there are some doubts now. Start Saka or Watkins? I'd go for Watkins. I'd lean towards Areola over Raya there in that question. So, Joe, I've only got one free transfer. The poll does show you my transfer plans, so that basically sums it up. The most likely is that I sell Mateta to one of Vissa or Cunha, and I might end up taking a hit or an extra one if I also want to buy De Bruyne. But I'm less keen on buying the Belgian now. Yeah, okay, no. Scratch that. It looks like KDB does start. And Marmoush is benched. Okay, so there you go. I think that does get the gears going. Okay, so let's go back to my FPL team and let's tinker with things. I have answered hundreds of questions, some of them several times of the captaincy and stuff like that, and which forward to buy, goalkeeper to start. So, yeah, I'll try to answer different questions and stuff as we conclude this deadline stream, but I'm also going to make some moves. So, Marmoush being on the bench has made things very interesting. So, in terms of me buying Haaland, that's kind of off the table for me. So I'm just going to do something like this. Let's see if I can keep Mateta for now. Let's buy Vissa. He's also a bit cheaper than Cunha, which helps a little bit. But yeah, unfortunately, I'd need 0.4 million to make these moves tick. And it would be Ismaila Sarr being sold as well. So what I might end up doing is keeping Saliba and doing Mateta to Matheus Cunha. And that is my -8. Yep, hit. Let me know what you think of the live chat. Say yes, no, you're dumb, looks good. I don't know, anything you want. But yeah, let's see what you lot think about my moves here. But with De Bruyne, it looks like he's going to start, and I'll show you the tweet very soon. In fact, let's go for it now. Let's go to that tweet now, and let's get this show on the road. So, Lazy FPL, they've basically been very reliable with Man City team news for the last couple of years, and that is what they say. De Bruyne starts, Marmoush doesn't. And Erling Haaland does start, which I predicted last week as well. But you'd rather have the actual confirmation than just my dumb prediction, which can be wrong at times. So there you go. I am looking at buying De Bruyne, selling Marmoush, taking hits in the process, and I could buy Cunha and Vissa, so that could be a differential play for me. Yeah, it is an aggressive hit. And look, Mateta could do well. I'm not ruling him out completely, but it funds the De Bruyne move, and it also allows me to keep Saliba for Gameweek 38 against Southampton away. Only one Forest defender against Leicester at home. I mean, yeah, it's still something, I guess. Surely a double striker move is perfect now. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, that's the first thing that sprang to mind when I saw people say it in the live chat. So let's end this poll. Mateta Vissa was the winner. The -8 option for selling Saliba, Sarr, Mateta was second. So not much in it, but I'm sure now things have changed a little bit. K-Man Corner says start 2. Rodgers, Marmoush, Murphy and Livramento. Well, Marmoush is benched. He could score as a substitute, but I would go for Murphy and Rodgers. Yep. Yeah, exactly that, Basunu. It's a reliable source. I do trust it, and that's why I will be changing my transfer plans a little bit. Hassan says, thank you for telling me to wait. Phew. No problems, mate. I mean, this season we haven't really seen these team leaks and stuff like that very often, but because Man City play at 3 p.m, this deadline is also slightly later, it has increased the chances a little bit of leaks. And of course, FPL newsletter are very reliable. Now, could there be a late change to the lineup? We have seen it before. It is a possibility. So, don't throw, abuse or, flame them if something does change. But I do trust their source. And yeah, it looks like De Bruyne starts, Marmoush is benched, and Haaland is in the lineup as well. So yeah, let me put the new poll out, the last poll I'm going to put out, and I'll be looking to lock in my transfers in the next 10 minutes. There could be a potential, let's say, website crash if you leave it too late, so try to keep things calm. Try to do things as soon as possible now with the information we do have. Yeah, so with Savio, I'm sorry, I don't have any information about him. Maybe FPL newsletter will have another update, so go to their webpage or their Twitter page and refresh and see if they have anything there. But yeah, they've only talked about De Bruyne, who does start, Marmoush is benched, and Haaland is in that lineup as well. So let's bring up this poll. So would you take So these are my final transfer plans. So let's do, yeah, Marmoush, Mateta, and Sarr. Yeah, it's just this stupid character limit is terrible. I'm going to have to just call him Mush, which isn't great, but there you go. So Mush, Sarr, and 2. Let's go for Cunha, Vissa, and KDB. I'm literally -1 character off. Jesus, this is annoying. So yeah, with only one free transfer, it would mean -4 for free additional move. Okay. So yeah, option A is a -8 hit, just for those that aren't aware, and you will see this very soon. And then the other one will be Saliba, Mateta, and Sarr. So yeah, in that case, it would be Aina. Okay, something like that. And the other one, I think it does seem quite obvious now what to do. Of course, in my case, if I could fund De Bruyne without selling Mateta, I would consider doing it and avoiding one hit at least. But because I need to make a bit of money, I think Mateta to Cunha just makes a lot of sense to me now. Or maybe I just go to Chris Wood instead. But Mush means Mouse in Persian, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't sound great. Maybe I just say Ma. Ma. Huh. But yeah, let's put this out. And I'll stick with the... So Marmush to Vissa. And if not, Meteta to Vissa. Let's see how this poll goes. Yeah, okay, I'm actually looking at doing it myself, but as I mentioned before, the main reason why is to fund the De Bruyne move in the midfield. Bernardo Martins, I think I did go for your question earlier, but you say KDB for Saar, Haaland for Marmush, Aina for Saliba. Yes. Now, I think Haaland could be subbed off slightly earlier, around 60, 70 minutes, but I don't think he plays less than 60. Let's put it that way. But in terms of 90, it would be a big push. Cunha is a good captaincy option, Black Shadow. Not my favourite, but I am looking at buying him in, to be fair. So this poll is all over the place, by the way. I mean, Marmush to Vissa is winning, with the news that the Egyptian is benched. In second place, you've got the -8 hit to buy Cunha, Vissa, and KDB, and selling Marmush, Meteta, and Saar. So Meteta to Vissa, which was the most popular transfer voted in the poll earlier, has suddenly become the least popular. But yeah, I'm very tempted to take a -8 here and go really aggressive, something I haven't really done too often this season. Paredes says, bench Marmush to Gameweek 37, 38, or sell. Can start Semenyo if I roll, or sell to introduce Vissa. I'd go to Vissa, mate. Yeah. I also think over the next 3 game weeks, Vissa's more nailed on, has a higher ceiling, and better fixtures, you could argue. So yeah, I'd go to Vissa there. Omar says probably the most exciting deadline of the season. Yeah, it's a bit more exciting. I mean, it does help that we get the information before the deadline, because otherwise you're literally walking in the dark and you don't know exactly what to do, because you could still argue, oh, Marmush could start alongside Haaland, but that isn't the case now. Trippier start. Well, I was asked about this in Spanish and English earlier, and the injury doesn't seem too serious. Last week, Eddie Howe said that it's just, what's the exact word he said? I think he just said it was like a knock. Like, yeah, it's just something not that serious. And on FPL, on the website, it does say a muscle injury, but I think there's still a chance that he does make it. And Eddie Howe did say that both Trippier and Cher are doing well in the last couple of days. Welcome, Jonathan. Wood or Cunha? I'm favouring Cunha at the moment. So, Lewis says Marmush to Wood for a -4. Yeah, I think so, because he is benched. I would go for Rogers Duarte. Mbumo captain, KDB. Well, in my rankings, I had Mbumo first, KDB second. I am tempted to go for KDB, and that is a differential play for me. But yeah, I'll probably stick with Mbumo captain. I think the minutes are more secure. He's on penalties, so that definitely does help. But yeah, KDB will be my vice, I think, if I bring him in. Marmush to Cunha for a -8. Yeah, I'd take the hit for him. Who'd be your pick for a triple captain this week? Mbumo. Now, if you want to go different, then I think one of De Bruyne or Vissa is definitely up there, and that's my top 3 for the captaincy. Didn't think I'd consider a -8 since I'm leading the mini-league by 39 points. Yeah, I'm also doing well in my other mini-leagues, but there's still the possibility for massive swings in the last 3 game weeks, so I do get your hesitation or maybe your surprise about it, but I think it's worth it. Meteta to Cunha for a -4. I'd go for it, yeah. And I'm personally going to make a transfer like that, maybe Chris Wood instead, to fund the De Bruyne move. Is it worth selling Salah and buying De Bruyne? I'd keep Salah if you can, and buy De Bruyne alongside him. So Marmush to Vissa is now the most popular transfer voted in the poll with over 100 votes, but I'm looking at the second most likely, which is, or the second most voted poll option in the poll. Can't speak English anymore. Marmush, Meteta, and Saar to Cunha, Vissa, and KDB for a -8. There is an element of risk to sell those Palace assets against Tottenham, but I think their minutes could be all over the place anyway over the next 3 game weeks. I would start Martinez there, bestie. I wouldn't start Rye if possible. Yes, Juniper, my answer is yes. Best captaincy option for a free hit team. If you want to go different, I'd say De Bruyne or Vissa. My top pick overall, especially for those looking to preserve their rank, is Mbumo. So I have shown the graphics for the captaincy and stuff like that earlier, and I haven't changed my mind about that in the last hour or so. Start Rodgers or Bowen. Rodgers for me. Triple captain KDB worth the risk? Yeah, I think so. With the news Marmoush is benched, what are your thoughts on Rashford and Marmoush to KDB and Vissa for a -4? I like that deal. And as I mentioned before, if I could keep Mateta and just do the same transfers you're talking about of selling Marmoush and a midfielder to KDB and Vissa, I'd do it. But I'm 0.4 million off, and that's where Mateta to Cunha comes in handy for me. Salah to KDB for a -4? No. Not for me. Start Marmoush or Rodgers, covered. I would go for Rodgers. Since Haaland starts, ignore KDB captain. It does boost De Bruyne's chances of getting an assist though. But in terms of goal scoring and he's not playing in the false nine, yes, he's less appealing from that perspective. But I'm going for Mbeumo captain. For me personally, Anita, Mbeumo's the best captain overall on paper. But KDB is second and Vissa's third. And if you want to go different, then Mbeumo's not really going to do it for you. I mean, to be fair, a triple captaincy, you can still gain quite a lot. Because most people are captaining Mbeumo, not triple captaining him. But in terms of a massive rank rise or, you know, the differential play, it will be one of those lower owned players there. Yeah, exactly that, Basuno. Good luck to you as well. And let's hit 200 likes on this stream. We are very close, only 21 away. And I have answered hundreds of questions in this stream and thousands throughout the season for UCL Fantasy and FPL. I'm going to make some transfers now, otherwise I'll forget and I'll regret it. So my plan here is to go really aggressive. I'm going to buy De Bruyne in the midfield to replace Ismaila Sarr. I mean, that's another question in of itself. Do I sell Murphy, Sarr, or Rodgers? I think I'm going to sell Ismaila Sarr and kind of bank on Palace rotating a little bit in the next couple of weeks and also focusing all their eggs on the FA Cup basket for that final against Man City. And you could say, what about City? They could do the same thing. They will rotate, but having said that, they still have the top 5 to secure, whilst Crystal Palace are safe from relegation and Europe is a little bit out of their reach. So buying Cunha, Vissa and De Bruyne is going to be my plan. I'm also keeping Isak and I'm selling Marmoush and Mateta. So these are my final transfers. There might be a slight regret from me about not buying Chris Wood, but Cunha and Vissa both have lower ownership than him. So this is a differential play in my opinion, taking a -8 hit, being real aggressive and doing things this way. I'm just going to have a quick look on Twitter now and see if there's any other news, but I don't believe that will be the case there. Yeah, I'm going to just go for it, I think. So let's bring these players in. -8 hit to round off this season. It has been a while since I've taken massive hits like this. Let's see how it all goes. So we're done. Less than 2 minutes until the deadline. Lock in your teams and make sure you've got the right players in your starting 11. Murphy Rodgers is a very difficult one for me. I might just start De Bruyne here and bench Murphy. That's something I've been deviating on all week. So Saliba remains last on my bench. I've got Raya there as well. Both of them I can keep for Gameweek 38. I've got Livramento second on my bench against Chelsea at home. And I've also got Murphy. Let's see if I can do one quick poll to end this, but that's my final decision, really. So yeah, Marmoush to Vissa was popular there. Yeah, good luck as well, Safir, and everyone else. Exactly, lock in your teams. Do not leave it for the last few seconds. I might make a last-minute substitution change, but yeah, let's see. So who would you bench out of these players? Let's see. So let's put Rodgers, Murphy. Well, I think those are the only two really to bench. The rest is pretty much self-explanatory. I probably should have said who you should start, but whatever. So who would you bench out of Rodgers or Murphy? Be sure to vote. Good luck as well, Zvonimir. Always good to see you. Yeah, I would take a -4 there, Abdullah, and buy Mbeumo. So a lot of people are voting for Murphy. Just to reiterate, this is who to bench, not who to start. But yeah, Murphy is, wow, leading quite considerably here. And in my team selection, I did talk about starting Rodgers instead. I've already got Isak to cover the Newcastle attack. Murphy has only scored 1 goal against Chelsea in his career. But there you go. That is my final team. Hopefully I haven't... Let's see if I can get this up as well. Ah, scheisse. Yeah, there's a family member's team and they haven't... Wait, let's see if I can make the transfer last minute for them. I think I can. Oh no, I've just missed the deadline for them. For fuck's sake. I think it went through. I actually made the transfer just after that deadline went. Yeah, so I'm not a cheater. I'm not a cheater. It's not for my team. It's just helping my family members. But yeah, they've. I was able to buy Cunha for Marmush late on. But yeah, it is over now. Aranya says start free. Munoz, Consa, Diaz, Rogers, Sarr, Kivio, Kanate. Yeah, so I would have started Rogers, Sarr, and Ruben Diaz. Let me know what you went for, Aranya. Apologies that I couldn't get to you in time. It was kind of hectic. I made late transfers myself and also for a family member's team after that Marmush benching. So it's kind of a chaotic deadline, but hopefully you started the ones you wanted to and you get the end result you want. The Sooner says done the exact same moves. Yeah, look, maybe sometimes I don't think outside the box enough because, look, in general, not many people would have done the same things as us, maybe, in terms of taking massive hits and buying these specific players. But yeah, sometimes I just gravitate towards things that are maybe sensible or kind of like logical and obvious. I need to think outside the box more at times. That's definitely something, but I still would like to think that both of us have done something a little bit different to the rest. Start Agbadu or Livramento? Oh, Livramento. Good luck, buddy. Went Haaland captain. Let's go for it. Only 2 weeks left. Yeah. My choice of captaincy isn't exactly like yours, which is quite maverick. But I'd like to think my transfers were a bit left field. So thank you to Paredes once more for gifting 10 memberships. You're obviously a legend of the channel here. So Adil, Riyad, Ryan, Azri Ahmed, Mojito, Joseph Bilic, Free Ronin, Avis, Arthur Nice, Six String Fury. Enjoy the membership for an entire month. That means early access to my content. And even in the off season, because there will be a time where there's no UCL Fantasy, no FPL, what do we do? And the game hasn't launched yet for any of them. I could still make some videos, of course. I'll be preparing graphics and stuff for next season. But I was considering in the off season trying something a little bit different and doing some gaming content where we can talk about FPL, UCL Fantasy, and also about other stuff, favorite shows, favorite games, do something slightly different on this channel whilst we wait for FPL to launch, and I'll still be making the usual content for that and UCL Fantasy. So let me know in the live chat if you want to see it, and thank you to all the super chatters from today, all the patrons, all the members, and of course the Paredes and Napstars for all their contributions to the channel. We have over 100 members on YouTube, and we also hit 33,000 subscribers in the recent UCL Fantasy Deadline stream. So big up to all of you, and let's get to 200 likes on this video if we haven't done so already. Let me actually check and see how we're doing on that front. So we are 12 likes away from 200. Let's get to that. It would be greatly appreciated. And also making slow but steady progress towards the next goal, which is going to be 34,000 subscribers, which we're looking to break into by next season, basically. So by August, that's when a lot of the growth and all the stuff will ramp up there for the next campaign. And 40,000k, or 40,000k, 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That is what we're going to aim for. It's an ambitious goal, but based on the progress and growth from last season, and also from the last couple of months, I think it is attainable once we go into the new campaign there. So thank you as well to Ahmed for gifting 5 memberships. All of you are massive legends of the channel, so big up to all of you. Maybe play FM25. I mean, wasn't that cancelled? Maybe I'm thinking of it wrong. I did have FM24. I was able to get it through Epic Games, but I'm not sure if I have access to the game anymore. But yeah, that is an option. I don't have FIFA, just for those that maybe aren't aware. I have bought basically every single FIFA for the last couple of years until this one. I've finally had enough. I mean, I've basically been saying I'm not going to buy the next one for quite some time. But yeah, I've kind of had my fair share of FIFA for the last couple of years. But yeah, as you say, Adil, big up to Paredes and thanks to him. So definitely a big W. Yusuf says, hi Dylan, I took an aggressive -12, bought in Haaland captain, Shada and Mbumo, as well as Cunha, Dub Mateta, Palmer, Marmush and Saka. Last week I was on 80 points, so I had some buffer. That's good. And once you have a good week like that, it is a little bit easier to go really aggressive and, you know, just go all out with a certain strategy. So hopefully it does go well for you. I've gone a little bit aggressive as well, with a -8. I think Palmer is still a good option for the next couple, particularly in Game Week 37, but the fixtures in general are quite poor, so it's a good excuse to sell him in general. Riyadh says took a -4 to get Wood over Marmoush and bench Tonali. I like that. And Chris Wood was very close to making it into my final squad, but I went for Mateus Cunha in the end. Ahmed says I've gone rogue. Free transfers, Salah, Mateta, Marmoush for KDB, Vis and Haaland captain. Yeah, I like that. And the fact you prevented hits is really appealing. The only doubt I would have is selling Salah, but it is a risk for a reason. First up, Roger says Safir. So you started Murphy. That is a key difference between us. We'll see how that pans out. Aranya says, which three defenders would you have started? Yeah, I would have gone for Ruben Dias, Konsa, and Munoz. Riyadh says took a -4. Yeah, covered that, sorry. I didn't have money because of bench boost, so panicked. Salah to Kulusevski to get Haaland in. Yeah, a lot of people did that. Well, and I say a lot, maybe that's not true, to be fair. Thank you, Safir. Big up as well to you. Haaland captain, let's hope he goes big. I kind of hope he doesn't. I mean, Man City are going to win anyway against Southampton, so I might as well get some FPL points. If Haaland gets some returns and KDB assists, then I'll take that, I guess. It's tough to get memberships nowadays. Yeah, but we're saying you're probably leading the charts of the most memberships gifted to in history, so enjoy that title, I guess. Zvonimir says last game week, -8 for KDB captain and was paid off 22 points. Right captain is always like a mini boost when your opponents in the mini league captains are blank. Yeah, exactly that, and I kind of regret not going for KDB last week. Yeah, that 11-pointer was massive in a week like 35. Good luck as well, Punjabi. And also, yeah, big up to Ahmed for gifting the 5 memberships. Fall Guys with viewers. Oh, I used to rage on Fall Guys, I'm not going to lie. I haven't played that in years now. I basically got all the achievements except for one, which is to win 5 episodes in a row. What's that about? Like, how do you expect someone to actually win 5 in a row? Like, winning 1's bad enough. Winning 2 in a row is already like a big challenge. To win 5 is insanity. Aranya says, which 3 defenders would you have started? Munoz? Yeah, sorry, I covered that, mate. GTA races, maybe. I need to download GTA again. To be honest, the last couple of years I've played GTA 3, Vice City. What else? GTA 3? GTA San Andreas. Also on the PSP, I've been playing that again, so I'm playing Vice City Stories. Haven't played GTA 5 in a while. Maybe do FIFA tournaments. Yeah. I mean, that is related to football, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of more of a single-player guy, and I've been playing, different, older games mainly. But recently I did play Elden Ring, which is more of a modern game. But yeah, some good ideas there in the live chat. Yeah, FM25 was not released, and it was a massive talking point for the last couple of months. Twisted Parky says, no. Hearing KDB bench last minute change. Really? Oh dear. Well, that's great. The -8 here has already gone off to a fabulous start. But that's what I mean. Like, there could be late changes. And, yeah, I'm not going to blame FPL Newsletter. But, yeah, I hope that source is incorrect. But that same source hasn't said anything about De Bruyne being benched. Oh, yeah, I really hope that's not true. But there could be some trolls out there. Bit of hopium and copium. But, yeah, I really hope De Bruyne isn't benched last minute. That would be a gut punch. Oh, no. De Bruyne... No, yeah, no, he still hasn't said anything. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm hoping that De Bruyne still starts, to be honest. Let's see how that goes. Maybe we'll find out in the next 6 minutes. So I'll go through the lineups, go through your last 3 questions and comments, and then have some bloody lunch. Yeah, I'm not sure, Sonika. There could be just rumours flying around on Twitter and stuff like that. But the information we had from FPL Newsletter was that he's going to start. And at the moment, I haven't seen anything that contradicts it. So we'll see. Lau says, hey Dylan, when should I use triple captain? Gameweek 38 is my preference, and you can go to Salah, Isak, maybe you go a bit differential like Saka or Bowen. Sonika says, free hit played. Sells Gavardio, Munoz, Sessegnon, Mbumo, KDB, Alanga, Shada, Haaland, Captain, Wood, Vissa. The bloodbath is going to be insane. I know this game already, but wish me luck. Yeah, well, that's all we can hope for now. The decisions have been made. There is skill involved, but a lot of times in FPL, you need luck to be on your side for things to pay off, and hopefully KDB starting is one of them. I'm interested that you went for Munoz in your 11 in your free hit, but yeah, hopefully he does well. Any game where everyone can join the lobby would be fun. Could also play football bingo. That is true. That is true. I'm very competitive though, so yeah, I'd probably try hard and try to get the victories. But then again, you know, if there's some, you know, kids or whatever in the chat in the gaming lobbies, then you know you gotta put people over like you do in WWE. Adil says, glad I didn't make any transfers. Was set on Bowen and Vissa in for Rashford and Mateta, but then the Marmoush news made me sell him instead, which then enabled me to get KDB over Bowen. Yeah, that would be great if they all start as expected. So 5-0 City versus Southampton, Haaland hat-trick, KDB 3 assists, and Foden 2 goals. I mean, my ideal world is for Southampton to win, but that's not going to happen, so might as well get some points. Who would you have started between Sarr and Rodgers? Still Rodgers, I think. I mean, it's a close one, and if Sarr starts against Tottenham, I mean, he's got a chance of returning because Spurs are poor, especially defensively, but he's only got 1 goal against them in his career. Thank you, Barath, and see you later. Yeah, we'll see easy. I mean, we all get our predictions right at times, and sometimes it goes tits up. Yeah, Marmoush is benched. We covered that in the stream. And the same source said that KDB starts and that Haaland starts as well. Which of the 6 teams playing UCL next season? Well, we don't know for sure yet. It all depends on who finishes top 5. But yeah, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, I think they're locked in. And I would also say, I think Newcastle will finish in the top 5 and also Chelsea. So those 5, and then the winner of United Spurs in the final. I mean, I'd say United, I guess. I'd be down for an FC25 tournament. I mean, I don't have the game, but yeah, fair enough. If I do get it, then that could be a good idea. Yo, thanks, Dylan, for the membership. I captain KDB. Yeah, all the best, Arthur, and big up to, I think it was Ahmed, and also to Paredes. They were the ones who gifted memberships there. Hearing from a friend who has a great source, I'm hoping he is wrong here. Oh, my mate was winding me up. What an absolute twat he is. But yeah, we'll find out in 3 minutes about... yeah, I'll get those lineups ready. Let's go for the predictions here. So let's get this up on screen. I'm going to leave this, and you can feel free to put your predictions as well in the live chat. So... let's also get to 200 likes. We're 6 likes away from that, so thank you to those that have done so already. I'm going to bring up all the 3 PM kickoffs and those respective teams. Wait, I'm an idiot, aren't I? Eh? No, it's fine. Okay, no, we're still waiting a few minutes for... yeah, so in 2 minutes we're going to get them. Let's go to Southampton as well. Okay, just gonna have all these ready here. Alright, yeah, there's a lot of lineups to get through, so I'll whiz through them once they're out. Let's get Everton. Let's get Ipswich Town. And Brentford, and that would just leave 2 more teams. Yeah, Wolves and Brighton. Okay, nearly done. I mean, yeah, this should all be locked in time for the lineups. As soon as they drop, I'll be covering them. So let's see. Obviously, City is the one we want to look at first. I understand that. So yeah, I will be going through that first and foremost. And then I'll go through Southampton and then all the other teams there as well. Let's close these as well. And I'll show you my FPL Challenge squad very quickly too. Okay, yeah, well, the clock has struck, and we should get all those lineups now. But I'm still just getting all these loaded. Okay, almost done. Okay, the moment of truth, but it does seem like De Bruyne does start. I'd be very confident of that. That would have been an absolute disaster, taking a -8 hit, primarily to fund De Bruyne, just for him to be benched. That would be typical. But yeah, let's get this near. About bloody time, mate. About bloody time. Okay, we can close those as well. And let's go to every single one of these bloody lineups. Okay. Fulham as well. Needed a refresh. Oh, Fulham's lineup is not out still. Oh, no, it's the wrong Fulham page. Yeah, okay. Southampton. Yeah. And Man City. This is the one we all wanted to see. And there you go. Finally, we can go through this. So, Ederson is in goal. Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, Gvardiol, Kovacic, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, McAtee, Foden, and Haaland. So, could we see De Bruyne in a deeper role today? I mean, that is possible. That is possible, to be fair. But at least he's starting. Marmoush is on the bench, so FPL Newsletter were completely spot on with their Man City team news. For Southampton, even though it might not be of much interest, it might boost the appeal of the City assets. We've got Ramsdale in goal, Bree, Harwood-Bellis, Bednarek, Stevens, Wellington, Ogochukwu, Downs, Fernandez, Dibbling, and Kamaldeen. Next in line is Fulham. Leno, Tete, Anderson, Bassi, Sessegnon, Sanderberg, Andres Pereira, Wilson, Smith-Rowe, Iwobi, and Jimenez. So on the bench, no Robinson. No Robinson once more. Vinicius, Godo, Willian, Adama, King, Kearney, Cuenca, Diop, and Bender there. Let's see for Man City who's on the bench for them. Ortega Moreno, Marmoush, Grealish, Doku, Nico Gonzalez, Gundogan, Savio, Nunes, and O'Reilly. Next up will be Everton. So Pickford, Young, Keane, Branthwaite, Mikalenko, Idrissa Gana Gay, Ghana, Doucouré, Harrison, Alcaraz, and Beto. So Calvert-Lewin is on the bench. And the same goes for Patterson. For Ipswich Town, Palmer, Twanzebe, O'Shea, Burgess, Greaves, Morsey, Taylor, Hutchinson, who is back, Chaplin, Enciso, and Delap. So Gaju stays on the bench. A few players there are back for Ipswich Town, like Twanzebe. And for Brentford, Visser, my new signing. Let's see if he can finally do something in my team. Flecken, Coyote, Vandenberg, Collins, Lewis Potter, Norgard, Yarmuluk, Damsgaard, Imbumo, Sharda, and Visser. So nothing surprising there whatsoever. Igor Thiago is on the bench, but Visser is definitely first choice right now. And the final set of teams, Wolves and Brighton. So Wolves have gone for Sarr, Semedo, Doughty, Agbadu, Totti Gomez, Ait Nuri, Andre, Joao Gomez, Menetzi, Cunha, and Guedes. So Strand Larsen is on the bench. He has returned, but not in the starting lineup. And finally, Brighton and Hove Albion. Verbruggen, Lamptey, Webster, Minter, Welbeck captain. Baleba, Ayari, Vifa, Van Heck, Estupinian, and O'Reilly. Of course, Joao Pedro is still suspended. And on the bench, Mitoma has made it. So those are the lineups, of course, for all the 3 PM games in the UK. And everything you need to know has been covered. De Bruyne starts, Marmoush is benched, and Erling Haaland returns to the lineup for the first time in over a month. So there you go. And before we complete this stream, this is my FPL Challenge Squad as things stand. Sells in goal, Van Dijk and Salah to capitalise on the double points for Liverpool and Arsenal players. And I've got Mbumo and Visser in that 11 with Salah as the captain. But not on my normal FPL team because I went for Brian Mbumo, the template pick. I took a -8 hit this week. I sold 2 Crystal Palace players in Sarr and Mateta. And I also sold Marmoush because he's benched. And I went for Cunha, Visser, and De Bruyne. A very aggressive set of transfers there. And thank you to those that have liked the video. We have reached over 200. That is greatly appreciated. Let's go for the last few questions and comments and call it a day. So Haaland plays if Marmoush is benched? Well, essentially yes, even though in recent games we saw De Bruyne as the false 9 and Marmoush as the right winger. I would have started, I think Bowen still. Bowen? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really close. I was 50-50 on the Murphy-Rodgers debate. I just don't think Bowen returns this week. So I'd probably say Murphy. I'm not a big fan of either. Yeah, I think Marmoush gets minutes off the bench. He might even score and outscore the replacements. We know how it goes. On Glasner, assistant manager since Gameweek 35. Stick with him or change for 37. I think Palace could rotate quite a lot there with the FA Cup final looming. So, yeah. What if Spurs and Chelsea both win European trophies this season? Well, look, not to be a hater, but I mean, both trophies, they're basically second and third tier European Cups. Don't get me wrong, you'd rather win it than win nothing at all. But I'll be honest, the Conference League, I really couldn't care less if Chelsea won that. Europa League, I prefer if United win than Spurs, but that's only because Spurs deserve to be trophyless. No offense to any Spurs fans watching. Lau says, Sells, Verbruggen, Collins, Gavardio, Nico Williams, Sessegnon, Aït-Nouri, Alanga, KDB, Salah, Mbumo, Eze, Visser, Cunha and Isak. Any players you'd recommend to sell for the remaining games? 6 transfers left. Well, you can't have up to 6 transfers, mate. You only can have up to 5. Unless you've got 5 free transfers now, and then, yeah, I'm guessing that's what you're on about. You've got a lot of room for maneuver. You basically can have a mini wildcard for the last 2 gimmicks of the season, so yeah, there's a few things you could do. I think in goal, you might even want to go for Pickford to replace Verbruggen and start him against Southampton. I think for Gimmick 38, you can bring in 1 or 2 Arsenal players, so that could be Saka, but I wouldn't buy him necessarily for Newcastle at home. And you can also buy a Arsenal defender to replace Collins as another example there. But the rest looks quite good. You might even want to consider Eze to Palmer for Gimmick 37. So those are some good ideas for you, but it depends on your budget. Barrow says Villa 2, Bournemouth 1. Yeah, I was quite conflicted about that one. I also was considering a draw. Adil says, Dylan, you've got a very big YouTuber in your chat right now. I'm not sure who, I haven't seen yet, to be fair, but big up to anyone who is here. I do appreciate it. Matias says, do you think Premier League teams will face World Club competition in US seriously with their best players? I think they'll take it seriously, yeah, but ultimately there are bigger trophies to win. Ultimately, you want to win everything you're competing. Of course you would do, but yeah, they will take it seriously. Would you have done Isak to Haaland for a -4? No. Damn, man, I have Marmoush starting now. Yeah. I think some of us would still be surprised that we got the leaks. It has been a while since we got one of those, but with Man City playing at 3 PM, it wasn't impossible, let's put it that way. Would you have done Isak to Haaland covered? Diaz, Lewis, Gavardio, KDB and Haaland all starting. Savio, Foden, Marmoush, Doku don't start. Yeah, exactly that. Thank you as well to Moore. Wow, Foden starting. Yeah, exactly that. And a lot of relief there for KDB starting too. I was considering 4-1 Brentford, but I stuck with the humble, so to speak, 3-1. Sounded like a B there, Dylan. Yeah. Cunha's gonna... Yeah, that's true. I know what you're on about there when I was reading the Brentford lineup. Cunha's gonna haul and everybody knows it. I hope he does. Otherwise, the -8 might be crap. Robertson out again for fuck's sake. He's on my bench boost. Yeah, FPL can be like that sometimes, unfortunately, mate. Come on, you seagull, says Twisted Parky. Adil says, thanks, Dylan. Have a good weekend. Can't wait for the God of Honor on Sunday. I can wait, but to be honest, I don't really care about that. I just want Arsenal to win some trophies, and next year, it will be done. Hopefully. Twisted Parky says, I think we drop points versus Wolves. Hopefully Bournemouth and Fulham too. Doubt Brentford will. Yeah, I think Wolves will either win or draw. I've gone for 2-1 currently, but no, I went 2-2 in my prediction. I'm very conflicted about that one, but yeah, I think Brighton will get 1, maybe 2 wins out of the remaining 3 games. Yeah, very difficult team to predict for sure. Damn, maybe I should have benched Munoz for Saliba or Virgil, says Twisted Parky. Not for Saliba, in my opinion. Honest thoughts on Arsenal out of the Champions League? Well, Arsenal, I think, had a good Champions League campaign. I'm not. I'm frustrated. I'm mad about the season, and it all comes back to January and the transfer windows. But I think the players did everything they could. Like we don't have the quality up front, so I'm not gonna. What's the saying? Beat on a dead horse or whatever the hell that you say. Like I know what Arsenal have up front. They're playing Marino there. He's doing the best he can. He's not a striker. You know, if Arsenal have a prolific goal scorer there, I think Arsenal win and go through to the final. But they don't have it, so they did the most they could. They beat Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate. Good nights there, and hopefully next season they can build on it and, you know, go on to win the Champions League and the Premier League. That's really all we can hope for progress. But it all starts in the summer. Zubimendi, it looks like that's confirmed now. It will be announced very shortly. And yeah, get that prolific striker, get a top-class winger in, get an attacking midfielder, attack next season, destroy the competition, and yeah, win some trophies. That's what I want to see. Easy says Kane won his first trophy and Spurs win trophy after 17 years before GTA 6. Yeah, but I'm sorry, winning the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich is like losing your virginity to a prostitute. So yeah, well done. You won a trophy, but it's nothing really to write home about. And Bayer Leverkusen weren't really there to compete this season. Only bad thing is Sessegnon back to left back. Yeah, but he was against Southampton and he did score in the last few minutes. How many points you scored in the last UCL round? I can't remember exactly, but it was a green arrow, which is the most important thing. Bournemouth have a very good record versus Villa, but I hope today they lose. Yeah, I mean, as long as Rodgers can do something, finally, I'd be happy with that. Well, Billy, I'm not sure what's going on there exactly. I thought it was something to do with his wife giving birth for the last one anyway, in Gameweek 34. But he has missed a few games now. Vice-captain says Barath. I like that. Yeah, Sujan, I don't know if I have to say in another language, but yeah. Yeah, Juniper, yeah. I forgot, to be honest. PSG win the Champions League without Mbappe. Mbappe saying, crying in the locker room. He'll probably win the Champions League with Real Madrid very soon, and if PSG lose the final, I don't think he'll really care, to be honest. I think Inter Milan are the most likely to win it, but I'll cover that in my UCL fantasy videos towards the end of this month. So just the Parkeepers' predictions again. Yeah, we've gone similar in a few of them. Only a few differences, mainly with United, but I mean, would it surprise me if West Ham got a goal there? Not necessarily, but I don't think they'll score many goals. Zubimendi and Rice in midfield next season will be absolutely insane. Yeah, I think profile-wise, it might be similar to the Jorginho-Rice partnership we saw last season, which was actually very good in big games. So I think Zubimendi could be a good signing, but a lot more needs to be done. The attack needs to be addressed. Yeah, arguably even two. So whether it's two strikers and a winger, or two wingers and a striker, maybe one attacker can do both roles. Ultimately, all of them needs to be addressed. I thought going on about Arsenal being the best in Champions League was a bit pointless. They did well, but focus on how to progress. Yeah, I think it was just emotions and look, I think Arsenal in terms of XG, in terms of opportunities, like they did enough to go through, but it comes down to that same old saying, the same old problem of quality. And, you know, you can't get too mad or, you know, start talking about, oh, we deserve to go through, because we all know what Arsenal have, a lack of quality up front. It's only Saka. You keep passing to him, relying on him to do some individual brilliance, or just keep crossing into the box, but you don't have a striker who makes those runs. Marino can only do it so often. He's not a striker. So, yeah, a lot of work needs to be done, but I don't think Arsenal are that far off from, you know, going all the way. They just need those 2 or 3 quality players in those positions to go all the way. Let's see, because my chat has kind of basically refreshed, so I need to double check which ones I've answered. It's so annoying how Marcus Silva doesn't say anything about it. Yeah, he's not the only one though. A lot of managers have this tendency to do it. They want that advantage over their opponents. It's kind of understandable. Forced to go Marimosh Cunha at the last 20 minutes. Hopefully it works out. Yeah, I also went for something similar. And it also, in my case, it was Mateta out, technically. But it was to fund the De Bruyne move. At least Bundesliga is better than Liga 1. I agree. I mean, Liga 1, with the odd exception, like Lille winning it or Montpellier, it's always PSG. And they can win the league by April or May and then rest their team and focus on the Champions League, which of course they deserve to have that luxury, but they wouldn't, you know, be able to get away with it in the Premier League. Like, as bad as the Premier League has been this year, they wouldn't be able to do it here. Come on, Kane wins trophies and deserves to win after all the hard work he does. Yeah, but the way you said it is like something, wow, a miracle or something. As soon as he went to Bayern, it's only a matter of time before he wins a trophy. I'm surprised it took as long as it did, to be honest. He's a quality player, but look, he's won a trophy. Well done. It's a Bundesliga. It's nothing really to write home about, in my opinion. Just the Parky says, I hope Inter win, United and Betis and City, because I can't have Palace win. Yeah, I mean, fuck all of them, to be honest. Fuck every single finalist there, but if I had to pick, it would be, I guess, Inter Milan. Yeah, United, Betis, and Palace for me. But then you'll have Palace fans chatting shit, like I really care. When Arsenal win, people will be crying, and I'll be there with the last laugh. So I look forward to it. If the Haaland leak is confirmed, well, I went through every single lineup just like 10, 20 minutes ago. So yeah, Haaland does start. That is confirmed. So does De Bruyne. Marmoush is on the bench. Chelsea can win the Mickey Mouse Cup if it means Palace lose, as much as I want both of them to lose. Yeah, I know, but you all have Chelsea fans being shameless because, you know, they are shameless people. And they'll talk about they're the first and only team to win the Conference, Europa League and Champions League. I mean, fair enough. Winning the Champions League is obviously a big thing. Winning Europa League as well is better than not winning it. But Conference League, I mean, yeah, it's very, very shameless in my opinion. I think Betis can do it though. Chelsea are the favourites, but Betis have a chance. When Kane's first trophy comes by in last season, though he immediately wins a trophy, but the curse not broken yet. I mean, yeah, Harry Kane, look, he was going to win a trophy eventually. He made the right decision leaving Spurs, but yeah, once again, with Bayern Munich, I think they will be aiming for the Champions League next season and doing better in that competition. Barbary says, beat City, Villa, Liverpool and Arsenal on the way to the Champions League final. Yeah, but they might not win it, so it will mean nothing if they don't win it. That's the kind of general rhetoric we see. Last time I cared about Ligue 1 was in Juninho days in Lyon. Yeah, I followed it a little bit when Messi was there. Otherwise, it's kind of a dead league, to be honest. Surprised it took Kane so long. Exactly. I mean, the first game he had, a cup final against Leipzig, he lost that. Bundesliga, of course, had no chance against Bayer Leverkusen there. Champions League, they went quite far last season in the semi-final, but obviously lost out to the eventual winner. I captain Haaland, I'm chasing. It could go very well for you. He was fourth in my list for the captaincy. How long is the process? I'm worried that Arsenal will start to lose their key players. Well, no, it's time to win. There's no doubt about it. I think this year there is some context that needs to be applied with the injuries and also, well, the transfer windows. Once I saw what Arsenal were about, and that was confirmed in January, I knew they weren't going to win anything. So there was just kind of hope that they could do it in the Champions League. But realistically, without that quality up front, it was going to be a big ask. But next season, you know, have a great transfer window now, get the players you need, and attack next season. And now is the time to win. So that is the answer to your question. The process now ends with trophies in the next few years. And it also depends on how things go next season with the league performances, the consistency. Do you have another Man City who get 90 plus points, or are you going to have a team like Liverpool who are good, but ultimately they are beatable and they walked the league this year because they had no competition? Anthony versus Chelsea, yeah, hopefully he does the business. Dunk not in the squad, that is true. That's something I actually went over my head. On a bench boost this week, terrible start. Yeah, hopefully the rest goes well for you though. Yes, Gamer 69, Marmoush is not starting. Well, sorry, Ahmed, I'm just saying, yeah. Not all Chelsea fans are shameless. I mean, the ones I know, they want to win the Conference League, and obviously it's better than winning nothing, but yeah, they are aware that it's not really something to brag about per se. But with Arsenal, I can get it. You know, people want to kick Arsenal fans when they're down, and, you know, winning nothing is obviously, it's another disappointing season. But like I said, I'm very confident Arsenal have the last laugh. But we'll see how that ages. Mina says, I ended up keeping Marmoush in my starting 11, so hopefully he gets some minutes and scores. He can. I really think he can. I know that Arsenal loss was hurtful, but come on, a trophy's a trophy. I know. I'm the first to admit it, and I think winning a trophy is better than winning nothing. But I just think with a Conference League, for example, when I'm seeing people like saying, oh, how would you feel if Chelsea win the Conference League? I'll be honest, I couldn't give a crap because at the beginning of the season, I thought Chelsea would win it. So if Betis won, that's just a bonus, to be fair. Should Anthony sign permanently with Betis? Looks like the United curse with anyone who signs with them. Yeah, there are a few exceptions like Bruno Fernandes and stuff like that, but yeah, Anthony looks like a completely different player. 5 years without a trophy is just not right. Yeah, but football is in cycles, and I think Arsenal were very close. They deserved to win one league, I think, over the last 3 years, mainly last season, but you know, Man City were equally as good, if not better. So you can't really, you know, I was more proud from that season, or at least Premier League campaign, so to speak. The one thing that hasn't been good enough, particularly in the domestic cups, is the cup record. Arteta needs to fix that. One major issue he has is juggling different competitions. It seems to be all eggs in one basket and not able to compete on all fronts by the end of the season. I can't stand Rory Jennings' guy as a prat, says Toasted Parky. Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of just the kind of thing a lot of YouTubers do, you know. Reactionary takes, clickbait, you know, say one thing and then say another. You know, oh, Pochettino is going to do amazing at Chelsea. Pochettino is the worst manager Chelsea have ever had. You're like, yeah, it's funny to watch, but you're not going to get much substance more often than not. Anthony can win Conference League and Europa League, the GOAT for a reason. Yeah, you could say that. What do you think about your insufferable fan base? It's the main reason why people hate Arsenal. I'll be honest, yes, there are some insufferable Arsenal fans, but so do United, Liverpool. But don't get me started on their insufferable fans. I think people look too much into online fan bases and they think every single fan from a single club is like that. That is not the case. And I get why Arsenal fans get under people's skin. I get why they can be obnoxious, you know, arrogant and stuff like that, but not every Arsenal fan is like that. Twister Parky says, I didn't mind him until he said shit about teams like Brighton, etc. should not be in the Prem, and he wants them out for Leeds, etc. The 3-4 teams he mentioned, like Bournemouth, have earned the right. I actually didn't know he said that about Brighton, but I get why you don't like him, and he also supports Chelsea. Won't watch him anymore. Any thoughts on who might be replacing Trent? Well, Bradley is the obvious one. He's starting this weekend, and next season he'll be the main right back. There are links with Frimpong, but he is more of a right wing back. I think he could struggle in a back four in that Liverpool team. I know Trent isn't the greatest defensively either, but yeah, Frimpong I think thrives as a wing back rather than as a back, well, as a right back in a back four, so to speak. Chelsea fans won the Super League at least quite a lot, I think. Generally don't mind them, it's just TB. Yeah, I get that, but I think we all have those clubs or fan bases we can't stand, but once more I have to repeat, you can't base a whole club, you know, and the fan base on a few idiots you see online and stuff like that. But that's just the way I see it. Everyone has their own opinion. Ahmed says every club has the good and bad. Some of my closest friends are Arsenal fans. Exactly that. I'm not going to hate someone because they support Chelsea or Spurs or United, but it gives me a good reason to be fair. Honest answer, if Arsenal win Europa League in the next future couple of years, will you still support them in the competition if they win the Europa League? Once again, I have to say this. I don't want Arsenal to be in the Europa League. I'd rather them not be in it. But if they are in the competition, of course, you'd rather them win, you know? It's not like, it's just Conference League or Carabao or Conference League. Who cares? Like, I don't want to win it. No, of course you want to win what you're in. So I'm not saying for Chelsea fans they can't enjoy their trophy and stuff like that. I'm just saying there are some shameless fans out there. That's all I said. So I don't think Arsenal will be in Europa League next season. I think they will get to the Champions League. But could it be a case where they drop off, key players leave, and they go down to Europa? Yeah, it could happen. Football's like that. But they need to capitalise on their potential, on the squad they have right now, which is close to glory. Get the remaining signings in the positions we need and finish the job. That's all that needs to be done. I hear about 50% of my Man United fan base, all the big clubs have their idiots. Yeah, on next, you know, you could say more than 50% of United and Arsenal and Liverpool fans are obnoxious and annoying, but not all of them are like that. Thanks, Dylan. Good luck to you and hope the -8 hit works well for you. Likewise, Mina, thank you very much. And yeah, I've got a good feeling about this week, but you just never know. Yeah, I get that way, Sing. I get it. I think banter's fine. I mean, a lot of people do that. They say things to trigger other fan bases or they have banter. So that's absolutely fine. I'm not saying people can't do that. Yeah, agree. The AFTV lot come across as idiots a bit, but are watchable. Not all fans are like them and they ham it up for YouTube. Yeah, some people literally go on the channel or give an interview or reaction to basically be controversial and get views. But the good thing about fan channels like that is you get a wide range of views. Not everyone shares the same opinion, and it can change based on the performance or the context. Inter conceded 6 goals in 2 games, semi-finals of Champions League, terrible defending. Barca could have scored another 3. I agree. Yeah, Inter Milan, as good as they are defensively, I think PSG, I mean, to be fair, Arsenal did produce the most XG over both legs, but I still got that impression that Inter Milan could concede at any moment, to be fair. Not with PSG, which is kind of a mixture of their good defending and Arsenal's toothlessness up front. But yeah, I'm very surprised about the fact that Inter conceded 6 goals in the semi-finals and went through. Let's be honest, any Prem team in Conference League this year should win it. Yeah, even West Ham a few years ago won it. I know they had a better team back then with Declan Rice as well, but yeah, it goes to show. I think the Premier League have a massive advantage in competitions like that. Bonus thought something needs to change for the club. Well, yes, but I think Andrea Berta coming in could be a big change, resulting in ruthless transfers in terms of outgoings and signings and getting the players needed. Before 2025, Arsenal comfortably number 2. Arsenal potentially dropped to 5th place. Yeah, I mean, I said before, I'll be honest, I don't really give a crap about Arsenal finishing 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th. There's only one place I care about. But in terms of optics, it is bad if Arsenal finish 5th. And do I want Arsenal to lose to Bournemouth? No. Do I want them to lose games and, just wrap up the season? No, I don't. But I'm just saying, in terms of by the end of the season, when we look back on this campaign, do I care if Arsenal finish 2nd or 5th? Not really, to be honest. But we'll see how it goes. Palace fans make me laugh. 7th biggest London stadium, 9th most successful London team, and they compare themselves to us. Yeah, there are a lot of pretenders in London, to be fair, but let's not go into that. Man United post-season friendly in Malaysia, and the 28th of May looks good. 50k tickets sold. Well, Man United are a big club. In Asia, they've got a massive following, probably the biggest of any team in the world, alongside Barca and Real Madrid. Wanderers not existed for over 100 years have won more. Wow, that's a big part. I mean, I could say things about all of these clubs, even Chelsea and Spurs, who are in the top 3, top 4 of biggest clubs in London. But yeah, it's all banter. We don't have much around us to compare to. Yeah, well, you are the team of Brighton, right? The only team, and Palace are your main rivals here. So I can get why you just want them to lose that final and have some tears by the end. But thank you, everyone. It has been a long deadline stream, over 3 hours. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe for new. It has been a blast talking to you for, well, the entirety of this deadline stream. We hit 33k subscribers in the last deadline, of course, for UCL Fantasy on Tuesday. There could be a reaction stream tonight. I'll let you know. If not, I'll try to do it tomorrow. But yeah, next few weeks will be hectic for me. I'll still try to get all the usual videos and live streams out for you for FPL. And by the end of this month, UCL Fantasy will still be covered on this channel. A best team video combining the wildcard and the limitless, my own team selection, and a deadline stream there, of course, for match day 17, the Champions League final, where we have 5 free transfers. I've got no chips remaining and a few green arrows there. So I'm going to try to end both FPL and UCL Fantasy in the best way possible. I've taken a -8 hit in this deadline stream. And big up to Paredes for gifting many memberships today. The same goes to Ahmed as well. And we have hit over 100 members on YouTube. Check all the links in the description for my X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. You can find me by typing FPL Dylan or Dylan RCM. The Discord server, FPL League, and Spotify can also be found in the description. Exactly that, Twisted Parky. Let's pray. But I'll be honest, I'm kind of hoping Palace win, or I prefer them over City. Thank you, Barbary. Before City kickoffs, says Twisted Parky. Surprised you chose to be a gun over Spurs, being Argentinian and all. Well, Arsenal is my local team, and my mum supports Arsenal. Like, when she came in, she fell in love with the club, and that's the way things go. I get your point. It is a good one. Spurs and Argentina have more of a connection, unfortunately. Hopefully that changes one day. But yeah, I think the fact it's my local team, my family support it, and also I just felt a connection instantly. So yeah, I think the Arsene Wenger football, for the last decades, I think that played a big part as well. But since I was 4 years old, even probably before that, I was supporting Arsenal. Hopefully in reaction we can celebrate a Haaland hat-trick. Not sure if I'd be celebrating, but I get you. You can feel free to celebrate, and we'll be like, Haaland, Haaland, and singing that dumb song. And KDB double return. Yeah, why not triple? To be honest, I wish Southampton could win, but they're just not capable of doing it, unfortunately. Thank you to the Parky and everyone else. It has been a blast, and I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UCL Fantasy content. We can continue the conversation in my social media platforms, in the comment section, and on Discord. And keep your eyes peeled for a reaction stream for Gameweek 36 and 37, and for UCL Fantasy. The videos will be headed your way towards the end of this month. Enjoy the football, and I'll see you very soon.